How about those Devils? How about those Devils? How about those Devils? How about those Devils?
How about those Devils? Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. A lot has gone on tonight, guys. There's so much to get to in this one, but our beloved New Jersey Devils, winners of 2 of the past 3. We're on a 2-game winning streak, looking to be flying super high going into Western Canada. Unfortunately, fell short to Daddy, the Carolina Hurricanes, once again in a painful game the other night. Looking to get back to their winning ways. In Calgary, Jacob Markstrom's former home, and the New Jersey Devils find a way, despite some discouraging reoccurring themes on the season, kind of dominating stretches of play with no goals to show for it. Survive and find a way to win the game 2-1 in overtime, courtesy of our resident hero, Shimo Nemec. And I must ask, I must know.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Wow. Again, you guys already know. Still a long road to go here for the Devils to make this really interesting, but I will be thrilled with any 2 points they could pick up. Tonight was a huge one. Get the road trip started off on the right foot. Devils now have won 3 of their last 4. Wow, a lot to get to with this one, but win or lose, we booze, guys. And these victory drinks, oh, when they hit your lips, going with the Nooners. I've been going with the Nooners. We won 3 of the last 4. I've been on the Nooners. And wow, big victory for this Devils team. They needed this one badly. You know, they need them all badly now, really, to even stay afloat and even keep a faint hope alive of squeaking into the playoffs. A lot to get to, kind of subplots of the game, but we start off, as always, with the goals. And in a rare turn of events here, the New Jersey Devils get on the board first at 7:51 of the first. Dawson Mercer, Dougie kind of finds him down low, gets a nice shot off. It's trickling in. He kind of jams it in, and Dawson gets his 13th of the season, assisted by Dougie Hamilton and Jonas Siegenthaler, to give the Devils the 1-0 lead. And, you know, up to that point, it seemed like it was pretty much all Devils. The Flames had, you know, their little chances here and there, but it seemed like one of these games where, you know, the Devils were going to outplay them, not have any goals to show for it, and potentially lose a painful one. Dawson gets the Devils the first goal. They're up 1-0. And in true New Jersey Devils fashion, my friends, it was completely short-lived, because under 2 minutes later, the Devils give it right back. Nazem Kadri, a man a lot of people have talked about with some of these trade rumors and things, from Kevin Ball, former Devil, hits him with a nice pass. Kadri beats Markey. They were discussing potentially looking at it for goaltender interference and these things. Listen, I'm a Devils fan, but if that got waved off because of goaltender interference, I would say the league is in trouble, because that was nothing. I mean, Markey just didn't make the save. It is what it is. But all tied up after 2. We head to the third, and once again, the Devils with a big third period, hoping to win it. Both teams had their chances. Nothing to show for it in the third. Both teams guarantee themselves the point. We head to overtime. And folks, we have the overtime weapon. Who would have thunk it coming into the season? But at 1:18, Bratter tied up, no stick, I believe. He dropped this. He lost the stick, kind of getting jostled. And Bratter, with that strong football soccer background of his, makes a beautiful kick. Just no other play to make. And Bratter, you got to give him the credit here. This might be one of Bratter's nicest plays of the year. Kicks the puck with his skate to Jack Hughes. Jack, on the backhand, gets it across to Nemo. And honestly, watching the replay, Jack pretty much whiffed on this backhand pass. There was literally nothing on it. It like crawled, a slow trickle across the ice. And maybe the off-speed nature of it played into the Devils' hands and threw the goaltender off a little bit more and allowed Nemo to tuck it. But he literally whiffed on it, and it's just trickling across the ice to Nemo all alone in front. And he doesn't try to like overly power it or whatever. He just kind of, boop, a little poker past the tendy for the win in overtime. What a beautiful just whole play by everybody involved there. Bratter, Jack, and Nemo. Nemec gets his 8th of the season, and another overtime winner from Jack and Brat at 118, and the New Jersey Devils start off this road trip with a massive win in Calgary. And like I always say, they're going to have to build off of it. I'm going to be thrilled for the 2 points. I will certainly enjoy my victory beverages with all of you. And they're going to have to follow it up with another strong performance tomorrow in Edmonton. Obviously, the dreaded back-to-back for this group. But my God, Nemo, guys, how clutch is Nemo? And I'll get into him, and we'll talk all about him in a couple minutes. We'll finish up the game stuff here. Devils 31 shots on goal to the Flames, 22 shots. Devils completely owning the faceoff circle, 64.4% to 35.6%. That's nearly a hair under 2 out of every 3. The Devils winning. Impressive. Devils power play, once again, trash. 0 for 2 on the power play. Penalty kill showed up in this one. The Flames go 0 for 4 on their power plays. Devils with 16 hits. Flames with 22 hits. Devils 11 block shots to the Flames 14 block shots. Devils 15 giveaways. Flames 18 giveaways. The Devils with 4 takeaways. And the Flames with 3 takeaways. And we get to some stats here. Let's see what we got. Cody Glass, 3 shots. Nico, a shot and a block. Cody Brown. So Cody Glass. Connor Brown, 2 shots. Timo with 2 shots. Lenni Hameenaho making his NHL debut, and we'll circle back on him in a couple moments. 2 shots and a block. Paulie Cotter making his season debut at center. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. 1 shot, 4 hits. Grits with 4 shots. Jack Hughes with 7 shots. Jack's got to start burying him. It's crazy. He's definitely severely hampered right now by that hand. 7 shots and a block. Dawson Mercer, the big goal and a block. Brendan Dillon, a block and 4 hits. Dougie with the big assist, a shot, a block, 2 hits. Nemec, the overtime winner, 2 shots, a block. Siegs with a shot, 3 blocks and 4 hits. And Jacob Markstrom coming up with 21 saves on 22 shots. Pretty solid game for Marky. Would have loved to see him get a shutout and hopefully get some good vibes back. We're going to need to get him going. A lot of you have been down on him. And listen, it's been a struggle, but all we could do is root for this guy to turn it around. I mean, what else is there to do? You guys, some of you people are nuts with the Marky stuff. Deserve to win a meter. This one firmly in the Devils' favor. 74.8% for the Devils to the 25.2% of the Flames. And this one was completely accurate. The New Jersey Devils did, in fact, win the game. And a huge one. Let me reference the notes here. Obviously, Lenni Hameenaho making his NHL debut. To be honest, it certainly seems like this season is, the outlook is not great, right? It would take a near miracle to make the playoffs. Thought Lenny looked great, liked what he brought. He's looking around, very aware of what's going on the ice, had a couple nice shot attempts. Definitely at least one of them got on net there. Let me just double check. He got credited with 2. He had one early, a nice wrister. Like what he brings. Obviously, he's been tearing it up in the AHL. He's a guy a lot of us have been talking about for a couple years now. And I will firmly say at this juncture, I'm going to make a couple bold statements, I think, tonight, or at least maybe bold to some, not to many of you. I don't care if he struggles, whatever. Lenni Hameenaho should be on this team for the rest of the season. At this point, I don't care what you tell me. I don't care what happens from here on out. I've seen enough of some of these bottom 6 guys. I'm not going to say any names, but guys that certainly do not bring what Lenni Hameenaho brings. Lenni Hameenaho should be a nice piece for this team going into the future, and he needs all the training or on-the-job training he could get. Bold proclamation-ish, number 1. Lenni Hameenaho should firmly be on this team for the rest of the season. I don't care, about all these other kind of fringe guys that we've been trying to get in the lineup. Like, it's over. Lenni Hameenaho, the era should begin. He should be part of the future. Keep him on the team for the rest of the year. I don't want to see him pulled out of the lineup for any reason. At this point, there's no excuse. Keep the kid out there. Liked what he brought, and hopefully he is, an everyday player for the rest of the season and into the future. With some of these other lineup changes, Paulie Cotter retried at center. something that some of you may remember I mentioned months ago when Jack Hughes was down. We got guys like Hameenaho playing center, and then Dawson Mercer had to be pushed off of wing to center. Like all these things, I really thought, that they should have gave Cotter another audition at center during that time. But now it seems like, I guess, I'm not going to say full-blown panic, but because of how much the team is struggling, how much they can't find offense, that Keefe was like, screw it, let me pull Glendening out. We got Hameenaho coming in. I'll use this as an opportunity to kind of shake up a bunch of things. And they plug Paulie back at center. I don't know, if that's a feasible long-term thing. I mean, I guess, where the season is quickly wrapping up here. Maybe for the rest of the season they do it, but in the end, there is no excuse to play Glendening. And I do appreciate his contributions for this team that he's made. He did, he did do some things, obviously nothing offensive, but won some faceoffs, provided some decent minutes when called upon. Wasn't even supposed to be on the team, but because of injuries, got a deal coming off a PTO. And, we don't need to see him anymore, unfortunately. So, I don't anticipate the Devils making any meaningful trades of any kind. And if they're not, then so be it. Keep Cotter at center. Let's see what he does for the rest of the year. And Hameenaho should firmly be in the lineup every single night. There is no excuse. There is no excuse. What else we have here? The Lukehughes injury. Another unfortunate blow. Keefe, post-game, said, quote, he's going to miss some time and miss the rest of the road trip. So whenever Keefe says miss some time, that's usually automatically like 2 weeks minimum, if not more. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened, but, Luke is going to be out for minimum the rest of the road trip and maybe longer. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, that does, to some extent, bail the Devils out, I think, or so it seems, right? And by bail the Devils out, I mean this overcrowded right D. They came up with another, Kovacevic is sore and they're managing the back-to-backs. There's a lot of lip service going on here. Every single game, there's like some story as to why the guy they picked to sit out is sitting out. And they went with the back-to-backs for Kovacevic. Overcrowded on right D, obviously a continual problem now that Nemo and Kovacevic are healthy. Dougie Hamilton very well may end the season here. And so I do think to some extent the Devils may have been bailed out here because, now Nemo and Kovacevic could both be in the lineup. I don't know. Let me just check something else. Yeah, someone. So, yeah, with Luke being out, it seems like they're going to be bailed out, right? So they're not going to have to scratch anybody on the right side. Obviously, Pesci's never under consideration, but the other three that are always in the rotation of being healthy scratched would be Dougie Hamilton, Nemec, and Kovacevic. So now all of them could be in the lineup. Obviously, Luke left D. Someone will have to play their offside. I wonder if they make Pesci. I don't know. Someone's going to have to play their offside, but they're getting bailed out temporarily because they're not going to have to scratch somebody. Now, that brings me to my next bold proclamation, or not so bold for a lot of you. Free Nemo, baby. Free Nemo. If I see Nemo scratched for any single game for the rest of the season, I am absolutely going to lose my mind. Lose my mind. We've talked about this before. Again, you're talking about a guy in Dougie that seemingly had 1 foot out the door, all the trade rumors, all the nonsense. He's responded. Since being scratched, he's been putting up points left and right. But the reality is, where this team is there truly a future here for Dougie? The Devils just going to completely reverse course and be like, we're so sorry. We tried to trade you multiple times and you denied it. Psych your mind. We were kidding. We're going to keep you till the end of your contract. Like, I can't see that being the case. And it doesn't seem like there is any legitimate future here for him. And if that is the reality, and we don't know because, who knows what they're thinking at this point, because the Devils are one of the most confusing teams when it comes to stuff like this. There is no world where Dougie and Nemo are both here next year. Nemo is going to get paid handsomely this summer. I'm thinking at a minimum, it would probably be $7 million. And so you're not going to bring back, Dougie at $9 million, Luke at $9 million, Nemo at 7, and the rest of the guys making between 3 and 5. Like, it'll be the most expensive blue line of all time. Not to mention we don't have room for all these guys, spots. So for me, figure out the Dougie deal and get it done as soon as possible. We need the roster spot. We need the cap space. But this season kind of quickly wiggled away from us. I did say in November, a lot of you will remember, I said, I'm officially panicking. The signs are there for me that this thing is definitely broken. They need to make some changes, do it in a hurry before the season quickly slips away from us. And here we are. The season kind of slipped away from us very quickly. The Tom Fitzgerald hope and wish approach once again has failed, and we're in a bad spot. But this overcrowded right D is a mess. Temporarily bailed out with the Lukehughes injury, but Nemo should never sit another game. If you plan on signing this kid and having him as a long-term piece for this team, you cannot be scratching him. I mean, it's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. He has more. He's, like I've said before, he's won more games inside of less than a calendar year than most of our forwards have. Like, give me a break. This kid has ice in the veins, as my boy Matt says. Shout out to Matt. Mother clutch gene. He's got that mother and clutch gene is right. Nemo just rises in the big moments. There's zero reason to ever sit him. I don't care if, he's struggling. I don't want to hear it. I'm not taking any excuses anymore. They've messed with this kid enough. He's went through enough over the past couple seasons. It is time for him to be an everyday player, and you live with his mistakes, just like you lived with the many, many, many more and even more costly mistakes of Luke Hughes. Because, I'm not going to sit here and, rail on the topic. But let's be real. Like, you could chalk it up to whatever you want. The double standard is pretty apparent. And so, Nemo is going to have some games where he struggles. Again, very young kid, playing one of the toughest positions in the game, a young defenseman, kind of thrust into it a couple of years back in less than ideal terms because of the injuries and the guys that we lost to free agency the year before. And this kid is 21 years old. He's turning 22 in a few weeks. He's going to be a stud, and they have to live with the pain when the mistakes happen, the bad games happen, just like they have done with Luke Hughes. I'm sorry. Got to do it. I do not want to see Nemo scratched ever again, and Lenni Hameenaho needs to be an everyday player. And with that, we get to the comments. The 5-star. Thank you for the super. Lenny needs to stay. Let the kid learn. Completely agree. Completely agree. Well, it's not like we're this deep team where you're pulling out some super valuable piece to give him games. Like, what are we talking about? He should be on the team for the rest of the season. Anything less, I will be furious, because at this point, you now sort of, in my head, you need to still try to win games and obviously sneak into the playoffs. But if we're being real, the odds of that are pretty damn low. And so let's really give this kid some games and evaluate where he's at so you can have a handle on that situation heading into the offseason, because God knows this team is going to need some real overhauling this summer, because once again, we have seen there are many holes in this team, and it needs some real fixing. Salvatore, Lenny with smart passes, blocking shots, dude playing like he does not want to go back to Utica. If he goes back to Utica, it'd be a crime. It would be a crime. He definitely had jump in his game. He looked like he belonged, and I think he's only going to get better with time. His first NHL game, like, come on. Pretty decent debut for the kid. Hopefully signs of things to come, and I want to see him here for the rest of the year. Let's see what this kid has. Sook, I'll say it again for those joining, losing Lukey Boy is addition by subtraction. I mean, let's not get crazy. There's a contingency of complete haters, which I think is nuts. But, as Keith said, this is opportunity for Nemo now. Now it seems like he won't be scratched, which is ridiculous anyway. Jay Snow, Calgary's an awful scoring team. Yeah, I think someone said in the chat earlier, they've scored one goal or less, like, amongst the most times in the league, and I think we're right up there with the Rangers. Jason says Markey's deal is still awful. I mean, listen, it hasn't started yet. It's not looking like it's going to be good, but let's just hope, guys. Let's hope and wish that he can find his game and somehow make that deal look okay. I understand the worries about it as of right now. I think we're all worried, but Time will tell. B now, Marky still makes me nervous. He's always fighting it. He does seem kind of jerky a lot and like out of position. But you know, he held it down tonight, only allowed one. Gets the big win. Gets the big win. Kevin Schwartz, I wore my high school jersey for the game tonight. I think it's a new lucky charm. Won't let you guys down. Well, you keep wearing that jersey, Kevin. Whatever the hell you did tonight, you do it again. Jay Slips was never confident in Markey. There are some games where he looks pretty dialed in and he's seeing everything, but I do agree there's certain points where you're just like, oh my God, he's kind of out of position. He looks very, not comfortable in there, but I'm going to take this win. Tropical Flamingo, I'll be at the games in Vancouver and Seattle cheering the boys on. I'm undefeated in games and go to St. Louis last year, Minnesota past 2 years, Seattle and Utah this year, others as well. Let's go Devils. Hopefully you see two big ones. Hopefully you see two big New Jersey Devils wins. Hopefully they sweep this trip, right? I mean, that would be 1 out of 4 games down. Sweeping the trip certainly is not going to fix everything either, but it will, prolong the inevitable. But I'd love to be wrong about this. And once again, I'll go to the delusions, right? I'll play the optimistic or the delusionally optimistic fan for a moment here and say, could this be a game like this on the road? Could this be a galvanizing moment? Can this be the type of win that propels the team to get their shit together? Could it be? We've had many games like this where we all thought kind of the same thing out loud. Could this be the turning point? Could this be the springboard? None of those games that we've said that about turned out to be that. But could this be one? Could this road trip overall be one? Time will tell. But so far, 1 for 1, and tomorrow's a huge one. At Edmonton, second game of a back-to-back. We'll certainly see Jake Allen in there. No Lukehughes. What are the D pairings going to look like? These are all kind of interesting question marks heading into a big showdown with McDavid and the boys. B now says, Lenny heads up smart. Jack and Grits, he set them up nicely. They should have buried it. Just to name everyone is just reassurance for Fitzy that the team is just fine where it's at. If we had a competent GM, I'd feel more comfortable battling, but it's almost bittersweet. Oh, well, let's go Devils. Listen, I have a lot of friends that are kind of like this too. They're like, I just want us to totally crash so we get rid of Fitz. But like, I can never do that. I do love this team. I want them to win every game. And even just completely tanking for the rest of the season would not guarantee that Fitz goes anywhere. And so I understand sort of the thought process behind that, but I just want the team to win. Like, and obviously I want Fitz gone too, but I can never root for them not to win, hoping that ownership wakes up and gets us a new GM. I just can't. Joseph won 3 of the last 4. Want to see improvement in some fight going to the end of the season. Yeah, I mean, and there's going to be a lot of guys probably with something to prove, right? I mean, they're not out of it yet. Let me see. How many games? Is there any games still going on? Let's see. Yeah, Islanders. Islanders beating the Canucks. Rangers trailing the Ducks. Hurricanes beat the Sabres in regulation. Avs beat the Caps. Penguins beat the Kraken. Leafs lost. Flyers won. All right, let's see. Did this thing update? This is going to change again, obviously. There's tons of games in progress. Let's just take a little look-see. Yeah, and it's like with these wins, they're not real. They're going to need to string them together because winning one game is just preventing you from falling further. But they're not making up any ground because the East is a dogfight. So let's just see what we have here. Let's pull this up real quick. Back in 1 second. But the Islanders are about to win. And so now you're looking at, with the same amount of games played, they're going to be 7 points ahead of the Devils. And the Penguins, like the Devils, there's obviously, 30 some odd games left for every team. But they may have to take that second wild card spot. And obviously the Sabres lost help, but they're still 5 points behind the Sabres for the second wild card spot with one more game played. Like they're in a hole right now. Back 1 second. 1 second. But who knows? Everyone counting on the Pens or the Islanders to drop off. Like, it's so close, but you have a lot of teams to leapfrog to get into that wild card, and you'd have to leapfrog a couple teams minimum, a couple teams minimum to get into the Metro spot. So they have the work cut out for them. They're going to have to go on a winning streak at some point to even strike back to make it interesting. B-Now said we should be having victory drinks. All right, let me scroll ahead a little bit here. Jason, no, it's sad he's like our only forward prospect. Yeah, unfortunately, you are right, Snow. I mean, listen, this team has whiffed on a ton of draft picks, have failed to develop guys, and this is where we are. It really is kind of a sad reality that he is one of our only, after him, I would say I would be hard-pressed to even tell you who I thought was our next potential NHL player in the system. Like there's really nobody. The cupboard is bare. It is unfortunate, but this is what happens when you whiff on a lot of picks. It's super unfortunate. Justin, some people are way too happy that Luke is out. How about show some compassion? Yeah, I think that's completely uncalled for and whatever, but people are nuts and you're going to get some of that. Jason says Glendening should be off this team. I agree. We need guys that could chip in. Trade Luke and Jack says Hameenaho is better than Gritsyuk. I mean, I think that's a pretty bold claim after one game, but could it potentially happen? Sure. I do like Grits. I think he still brings a lot. This whole team has struggled, and as a result, so has Grits. The Kane says hearing dislocated shoulder for Luke. How long of an injury is that? Is that like a 4 to 6 weeker? Jason says Lenny will get a few games and be back in Utica. But here's my question, Snow. Who are you sending him to Utica for? Like, tell me definitively what forwards we have that did not play tonight that deserve a spot over Hameenaho. Tell me who. The Kane strangely solved our D-core problem for the time being. Yeah. FDT LGD. Ace, I'm cheersing my Pellegrino to you. Saw Hughes went down with a dislocated shoulder. Hopefully we see him soon. Season's done for him if it's serious. Yeah. I don't, is that a season ending type of thing? I don't know. I guess it could be. There's only, a little more than, I guess we have nearly 2.5 months, a little more than 2.5 months left. B now says I've been wanting Cotter at 3C. Yeah, again, I think it was something that should have been tried months ago when, post Chicago cut, when we had to play Lemico at center and push Mercer off the wing. Like it should have been tried sooner. Not that it was some smashing success per se, but with Glendening as your 4C or Lemico or both of them, like it definitely should have been attempted, I think. Adam developed Cotter to center. Souk, there are way more pros than cons regarding Lukey Boy being absent. Be now Cotter as a center. No, I know, but he's had small auditions, I believe, at center as a Devil, but then they quickly put him back to wing. And so after they refused to try him at center again during the, Chicago cut situation where where Jack was out for a while, if they didn't try it then, I was firmly convinced that it's just not an option for the Devils team for whatever reason. Keefe is never going to put him at center. And then when I saw it today, I was like, oh my God, they're going to try it again. Tropical Flamingo just thought guys were stronger defensively tonight than we've been, combined with great Markey performance. Had to beat Calgary and win for Markey in this one. Yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, they're playing Markey because Allen's going to get the tougher start in Edmonton. Like, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think it was just a function of Markey wanting to play against his former team. Justin, Devils will need to call up another defenseman. I don't think so. I think they're just going to play someone on their offside, and that'll be that. There'll be no scratches from the group of Dougie Hamilton, Kovacevic, and Nemo. Jersey Roots, what's going on? AO Ace and all the other Dirty Devil barbarians. Victory! Enjoy those victory beverages, my friends. Vecna Fitzgerald says, Saravelli said dislocated shoulder for Luke. Damn. Piggledolo, Colton White getting called up? I don't know. At this point, I can't see it. Appreciate Colton White. Definitely a surprise on the season. Held it down during all the injuries and did everything asked of him and more. I just think now what this injury will do is fix their decision to have to scratch somebody that shouldn't be scratched. I mean, in my opinion, Dougie Hamilton, Nemo, Kovacevic should all be everyday NHL players. This is just a function of Fitz not figuring things out in time before Kovacevic came back, despite everyone kind of knowing roughly when he'd be back. In Fitz's head, he probably thought Dougie was going to be moved by then, but it's seemingly proven to be very difficult to move him. And who knows, maybe, like I said before, maybe the team completely gave up on the idea. But the reality is, again, based on roster spots, cap space, everything, it just does not seem feasible to have Dougie here next year. And so if that's the case for a team that's seemingly going to be out of it, what are we doing holding on to him? I mean, and then there was articles that Fitz was like getting greedy on the return, which did not surprise me. I meant to bring that up. I think it was Pagnotta or somebody, I forget. But you know, it seemed like Fitz would not be happy with just kind of dumping him, and that he actually wants some sort of value back. And I told you guys a few weeks ago that was kind of my concern, that Fitz was going to be somewhat greedy with the trade. And it seems like that's happening because he wants to feel like he wins every trade. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. Some trades you just have to do. You can't win every single trade. And I certainly don't see how you're winning a Dougie Hamilton trade, you know, in terms of the player or whatever is coming back. The win is that you're freeing up $9 million of cap space. That is the win. Titus Nemo, if he gets better defensively, is going to be pretty dang good. Again, 21 years old. I think he's going to be phenomenal. Jay Snow, really sad how the Hughes legit can't stay on the ice. Very injury prone. It's been a knock on them, and it's a fair kind of thing. It is what it is. Tropical Flamingo, I just love winning. It's victory drinks. Victory drinks and loser beverages, and the loser beverages are unbearable. David says, call up Casey. It's time. I don't think you're going to see that either. Like I said, I think this injury just kind of bails them out of having to scratch somebody. Suk, we beat the lowly Flames 2-1 in OT. Whoopee. Glad we got the 2 points. But Lukey boy, that is the – oh, God. John Doe says Casey stinks. Will Butcher 2.0. I don't think that's the case either. Again, very young defenseman, has to figure out some things in the D zone, but I think he's going to be a good player. I don't know if it's going to be for the Devils. Again, that's another guy that I'm very curious as to what his future holds in the league, whether it is with the Devils or if he's packaged up in a deal. I do think he would have some teams interested for sure. I don't know what his exact value would be today, but, you know, we'll see. Maybe he survives all of this and is kind of in the mix next year, depending on what happens. But, you know, it's a pretty crowded blue line. Jay Snow, still trade Dougie. Completely agree. My dog for Jam Jack is going to burn his mouth drinking a hot coffee tomorrow and be out for 3 weeks. You guys are ruthless. Be now. Nemec is our best offensive player, and Dougie is going to have to go ASAP. And listen, I like Dougie. And it turned out, I don't know, maybe he was struggling because he mentally checked out. It is kind of bizarre that after, I mean, it's not, in some sense, it's not bizarre, but he was scratched and has been putting up points left and right since he's returned. And now a lot of people are clutching onto that. Like, see, we can't get rid of Dougie. But like, here's the thing. Like I said before, this season's pretty much cooked. And there is no scenario where he's back next year with Nemo as well. So what are we waiting for? Make the trade now. Make the trade now. Jay says they're not making the playoffs anyway. Trade Luke and Jack, and the Devils make the playoffs. We'll be recalling this Calgary game and Luke injury with such delight. They're not making the. I mean, listen, I'd love to make the playoffs, but you know, enjoying a Luke injury is kind of is a disgusting thing to say. I mean, you cannot like the guy all you want, but you know, celebrating an injury is just a scumbag thing. Tropical Flamingo, for us winning any game right now is a chore because we cannot finish for the life of us now, right? The breakaways, Connor Brown and Nico. If we score in this game, we dominate it. Just glad we started the trip with a W. Yeah, it was way tighter than it should have been. We should have won like 3-1 at a minimum in regulation, but it is what it is. Titus Dream 12 Dougie's got in the summer. His bonus hits that a cap floor team will take him. Yeah, people were saying, a lot of people speculating that. So teams just don't want to pay the bonus. They're going to make the Devils pay the bonus. But can't you negotiate that now? I feel like you could. That you could be like, okay, listen, we're making the trade. We'll pay the bonus. I don't know that we've ever heard that level of details in a deal, but I'd imagine that probably could be kind of negotiated. Justin Smith, the fact that you are so happy that someone got hurt shows what kind of person you are. It's pretty sad. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Anyone celebrating someone getting hurt, like you're a terrible human being. Jay Snow says 1 goal on bum Calgary team without Anderson. Be now 1 goal game. Hope we score more versus Cotter. Oh, we're definitely going to have to score more against the Oilers if we want to win. David S., really depressing how so many people in here are happy or relieved that Luke is out. He has the most points any of our defensemen. You guys are delusional. I'm with you. I mean, it's completely insane. Titus Dream says Nemo turns his adversity into swag. I mean, if he's ever scratched again, if Nemo's scratched again, I'm going to lose my mind. That should be over with now. John Doe, they're going to push Nemo away and risk him demanding a trade, all just to bend over backwards for Luke. I don't necessarily look at them as related. I know a lot of people have, but he's on the right side. The thing at the moment really is kind of Nemo and Dougie are kind of tied together in terms of all the baloney. Jason says Luke doesn't seem to have hockey IQ. I don't know if it's necessarily that. I do think there's a level of, for lack of a better term, like invincibility, that he thinks like his shit doesn't stink sometimes. Like, you know, I'm Luke Hughes. What are you going to do to me? And it's, someone used the term Hughes bris, which killed me a couple weeks ago. But like that play against the Canes for the second goal he gave them, where he just was very nonchalant, skates in front of Allen, and Taylor Hall just comes and pokes it off a stick into the net. Like, you cannot make those plays. The fact that you thought you could skate the puck that close to Allen with Taylor Hall coming in on you is like, come on, man. Like, it's ridiculous. Tropical Flamingo Isles beat Edmonton 1-0, but agree we need goals plural to beat the Oilers. Yeah, this team is offensively anemic right now. It's kind of bad. It's kind of sad to see. Steezy Nemo. We got IQ says Dougie with the primary assist and Nemo with the OT winner. Devils got real lucky. Luke got hurt. How did the Devils get lucky? Luke got hurt. I've never seen such a group of insane people. Like, you people are actually cheering a guy's injury on our team. Like, it would make more sense if you're talking about cheering an injury on the other team, which I still think is kind of terrible behavior, but cheering an injury of a guy on your own team. Devils got real lucky. Luke got hurt. Was ready to hear some BS excuse on who was going to sit out next. Dano says, can I pick apart the negativity? Justin Smith, Lenny was great tonight. I agree. Suk, Lenny was a beast, playmaking phenom in the making. Hopefully. A lot of you guys, it seems like everybody's kind of on the same page with Lenny. Titus, Luke has no feeling for pressure and gets baited into mistakes. You can't teach that. That is a thing. And I think that's a good way to sum it up. Like, no, does not feel the pressure. Like, are you aware that we're melting down in our own zone right now? Are you aware of these? It does seem sometimes that he's just like living in this la-la land where like there's no urgency or just desperation. Like, get the puck out or, you know, win a battle or something. Like, there's just too many times where he seems way too calm when we're all watching, like melting down, realizing what's happening. More compliments for Lenny. Jersey Roots says Lenny looked good. B now says Lenny got game. David S says so much hate in here towards Luke makes me sick. And I agree with that. My dog for GM, the minute Luke returns, Nemec will be scratched and his spot will be given to Dougie or Kovacevic. If that happens, then number one, myself and many will be outraged. And at that point, I hope he would demand a trade. I mean, that would just be insane. Completely insane. Snow Devil says, love me some Nemo time, but you win 2/3 of the faceoffs. You shouldn't have to go to OT. No, completely agree. I mean, and this is a bad team we played. They just traded one of their, you know, best defensemen. There's a lot of things that went into it. It's pathetic that we had to, you know, squeak one out in overtime, but 2 points is 2 points. I'll take it. John says, Devils need more offensive prospects. Name one after Lenny. And I just a few minutes ago said, I couldn't even tell you who the most legitimate one is. It's really sad. The cupboard is bare. Art says Sherwood to the Sharks. Yeah, we talked about that. Jay Snow, Sorokin's going to win the Vezina. He was nasty versus Edmonton. David Chimes, the teams above us in our division are mostly looking ripe for pickings if we wake up. Won 3 of the last 4. I still give us a 15 to 20% chance. Not enough to doom yet. I mean, 15% is pretty bad. And I would put it in the single digits for me personally. I haven't looked to see what the, you know, the actual math websites or whatever are calling it, but David Chimes says Markey plus and goal saved above expected in 6 of the last 8. Yeah, listen, he had a nice little string going before the Islanders beat down, and he's played pretty well. You have to hope he bounces back. A lot of people are writing him off for dead as well. Bobby, thank you for the super. What's up, Ace? Remind me again why Luke is still in power play 1 and why Nemo plays second fiddle to Nemo. Regardless, solid win for the boys, but once again, offense is non-existent. Lenny looks pretty good too. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, I would say. I personally would not put, when healthy, obviously he's not healthy now, just got injured, but, when he was healthy, I would have played Dougie and Nemo exclusively on the power play. Like, one day, maybe Luke, it will be your job, or at least he'll always be on one of the power play units. But it is funny to me that you bring this up, Bobby, that when a lot of people were talking about trading Dougie this summer, that they were just like, we have, Luke's a power play 1 quarterback and we don't need Dougie. And it's like, I think some people are coming to some harsh realities right now that, like, who in their right mind would not rather have Dougie on a power play unit than Luke right now? I mean, I think most sensible people would say they'd rather see Dougie, and obviously Nemo as well. And who knows, right? Maybe if Luke didn't get injured earlier in the game, maybe Nemo wouldn't have been out there at the time he was in the overtime. I don't know, but I am a team Nemo guy, have been for quite some time now. And hopefully he just continues to shine and we don't see any more nonsense with him. But the future is bright, guys. We got Hameenaho and Shimo Nemec. The future is so bright. All right, let me get back to here. Damian, I know I'm late to the game and it may be irrelevant, but Sherwood was traded for picks and a player. Why the hell couldn't we do it? Regardless, let's go Devils. We had the pieces to do it. Now, I would have been a lot more inclined to really be about making that deal had our season not fallen apart. But here's the one thing I do want to mention, because a lot of people are kind of lost on this topic as well. They're like, oh, we need to be sellers and we shouldn't be buying. Here's the thing. You can buy even if you suck, looking towards the future, right? Because there's guys out there that either you can re-sign. In the case of Sherwood, he is an unrestricted free agent after this year. And likely, I would say it's likely he signs with the Sharks. And I think it would have been likely he re-signs with whatever team traded for him. And so for people to be like, we shouldn't be buying and this and that, you don't have to be buying for this season. That's what people seem to forget. Not every player is a rental. And so even if the Devils season completely slips away, there's still opportunity to add to your team in this season for the future. Not everything is a rental. And so it's very infuriating when people constantly strike down stuff or rumors of players and they're like, oh, we shouldn't be buying, because you can add a piece that you can have for years and years after this season. So I don't know why that's lost on so many people. Pickles is injured right now, Jersey Roots. He is still with the Flames. David, this entire fan base is a mess. More praise in here that Luke is out. We'll miss some time. Just disgraceful for people to be happy about that. Completely agree. Damian, also I blame the defense more than Markey or Allen. They do not do their job as well as they should. I mean, listen, this season falls on a lot of different kind of departments. Everything has been underwhelming. AC, the Husky star Markey is probably jerky because he knows he needs to be perfect since we can't get goals. It could weigh on his, mental. That, like, if he lets up a goal, the game could be over. All right, let me skip ahead here, guys. I've fallen behind. David, what do they need to do to restore some hope for you? No, a win against the Flames doesn't galvanize the team. It could. Any single game could galvanize a team. I'm not counting on it, but sweeping the trip, they would still be in a bad spot, but maybe they would pass a team or two in the standings if they're able to do that. Again, I'm firmly on record saying, from quite a while ago that I don't think this team makes the playoffs now, and I would love to be wrong. Would love to be wrong, but after doing the math, and I did it out, I don't know, a week ago or so that I figured out the Devils basically needed to play 680 hockey from that point on. It's just not very likely. Jason, this Devils team reminds me of Buffalo, and they had Eichel, Reinhart, Ullmark, Ryan O'Reilly. They had great players, but it just didn't work. That's what it seems like with this group. It just isn't working. I'm there. It certainly seems like it's not working, and I do think we are long overdue for a change. You know, Fitz in his little Q&A session pretty much told everybody that he loves this group. He loves the core. He loves the state of New Jersey, yada, yada. He doesn't look at the standings. And so I'm not expecting, as I've said again for a pretty long time this season, I'm not expecting any major moves whatsoever. NJ Swamp Fox, Nemo interviews. He said he plays his best when he's given more time. Management has jerked him around long enough. Totally in agreement there. Snow Devil Markey charging the puck is always exciting. I forgot to talk about this. Sometimes funny and I get mad when it backfires, but we're letting up so many odd man rushes. Markey had to do it on his own. Yeah, he came flying out of the net and he missed terribly on the poke check. That's an old school goaltender move, and there was no one better at it than the great Martin Brodeur just coming out. But he whiffed completely on the poke check and did like a slide. The puck ended up hitting his leg pad, and then he somehow lost his blocker. What a wild sequence of events. Jason Oss had 2 points ahead of the Rangers, and they're retooling. What are we doing? I think we're doing pretty much nothing. Corey, I'm going to the game tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can get the Edmonton fans on board with my Fire Fitz chant. Good luck with that. My dog for Jam, the reason people are relieved is because, one, he's bad and constantly makes costly mistakes. 2, gets preferential treatment because of his last name. 3, is a prima donna. Wow. Okay. Cisco Kid, don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but this team struggles with every team. They either lose or squeak a win. In a lot of games, but they've shown flashes. They just, the good version of this team just does not show up often enough. But I mean, that team that beat Minnesota in Minnesota, that was a damn good team. If we could get them more times than not, they could string together wins. But the consistency is just something that has plagued this team, and they cannot get it together. Dados says 30 games is so many games, and so many things can change in that. Yeah, but if you do the math out, it's a painful reality. To jump all those teams, the 5 points is way bigger than it seems. Because of how many teams are in the mix, it is a gargantuan task right now. Jason says, no way they get a wild card spot. Only chance is the Metro. I disagree with that. You don't know how it's going to play out, but they're both going to be super hard. You know, a lot of people are just assuming the Islanders or the Pens are going to fall off. Like, there's no guarantee of that. Dano says, God forbid this team starts feeling themselves. Well, I feel like that's part of the reason we got here. I think they felt themselves a little too much earlier on in the season, and that 8-game heater probably had them really believing their own kind of headlines, if you will. And Sheldon Keefe has kind of alluded to that in the past. You know, they got off to a good start, but here we are. You know, they played 325 points percentage hockey over a 20-game stretch. You cannot be that bad for a quarter of the season and believe you're a playoff team, never mind a legit contender. 325 points percentage hockey over a 20-game stretch is just an absolute unforgivable sin. David Chimes, wild card looks more difficult than top 3 in the Metro. Pens ain't staying there. Cap surprisingly mediocre. But again, you know, you don't know what the Flyers are going to do. The Caps are still there. Yeah, either way, it's not easy, right? Whether it's the top 3 in the Metro or the wild card, it's not an easy road. And I will be curious to see what the actual, you know, what the points difference is when it's all said and done on the last day of the season between 3rd in the Metro and the 2nd wild card. I suspect they're going to be pretty damn close. The man from Jersey is talking foul. Embrace the never embrace the tank. The man from Jersey. John 757. Feel like Ace has been sick since fidget spinners are cool. Get better soon, boss. Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a while. I'm getting slowly better, but that's a grind. I'm doing all kinds of things. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I got to step out again for 1 second. I forget who said it last game. But I did. Hold on. I forget, and I don't know if you're in here now, and I apologize. There's a couple people that talked about it, but I went out and I got some of these. Shit, I dropped it. The immunity boost. Ginger and turmeric. Somebody suggested these. I'm now starting off my mornings with this. I feel like an old man. I'm taking medicine. I'm taking immunity boost shots, vitamins, water. I'm drinking tea with honey. It's like a whole regimen. It's become a lot. It's honestly become a lot. Sook says, agree there, Justin. If Lenny doesn't stay, wouldn't surprise me. He better be there for the rest of the year. Keep him up for the rest of the year. Jason, no, I'm not touching our first-round pick this year for some crappy Band-Aid player. You guys know how I feel about picks, and especially when this organization has proven they suck, absolutely suck at drafting. I wouldn't trade it for what you would classify as a crappy Band-Aid player, but I certainly would trade it for a known commodity and a player that could help this team win. I miss Coleman. I think a lot of us do. I miss Ball. I don't miss Ball, but he was part of that 5-on-5 Rangers brawl. What a beautiful, beautiful sight. Snow Devil, I really liked Lenny. I thought he played a responsible game defensively, and offensively he was great. He had a couple good plays that should have given him an apple and 2 shots on net. Hopefully Hameenaho, this is the start of the Hameenaho era. B now says we have no one better than Lenny that's in the bottom 6. Completely agree. And for that reason, he should be here for the rest of the year. Jason, no, I'm not saying I would do it. It's what the Devils love to do with every AHL player. Justin, keep Lenny with Grits on the same line. Robert, Lenny looking good, showcase trade bait. I mean, he's not going to – he played one NHL game. What do you think you're really going to get for him? I don't think the Devils are going to trade him. David, all you Luke haters towards me are trash Devils fans. Kid is 22. Can you do any better? If not, then shut up and stop criticizing him. Lots of players make $9 million a year. Go learn the salaries. So I'll agree and disagree with you here, David. Rooting for or celebrating an injury is a total clown maneuver. But I do think a lot of the fair criticism of him is completely justified. I mean, listen, you need to do better. You need to do better in every way. But rooting or celebrating an injury is pathetic. Trade Luke and Jack. Playing Hameenaho would burn 1 year on his ELC. No? Well, who cares about that stuff? I mean, they I don't even know. What is, let me see. How old is he? Some of it depends on the age. He's 21. I'd have to look into this because there's all these different rules for how old you are when you sign. I'm pretty sure he was older. He was above the age, so the year is gone regardless. I'm going to double check on that. Brandon, I think I'm learning that until Jack is 100 or near 100%, this team won't score. He's certainly nowhere near 100% right now. Coaster Kraken says Lemico is better than Gretzky. Scott, hit the like for our boy. Thank you. Late night edition. Hit the like for your boy, for our beloved New Jersey Devils, and obviously for our stud in the making, Shimo Nemec, ice in the veins. The man from Jersey says, get rid of these injury-prone Hughes brothers, embrace the tank. At what point would you guys wave the white flag? I'll never wave the white flag, and they're not going to trade the Hughes brothers. I've said this forever. No time soon is that even a consideration. Ownership is all in. Billy says, keep Lenni in the lineup. He looked good. We all mostly agree on that. David, it's rare one game gives such a good look for a first-time call-up. I can't remember many except clear-cut guys on game one of a season. No, I agree with you there as well. You know, we've seen a lot of the, Hallinens and Legari and a bunch of other guys. Lenni certainly seems to have had the most jump and impact or, favorably noticeable in the game of a New Jersey Devil debut in quite some time. I would totally agree with that. And maybe that all came as a function of them leaving him in Utica and letting him kind of season. He didn't start off so great, but as of late, he's been on fire, and now he's taking that confidence to the NHL ice. Dan says, Brad is hurt. Just wait until after the Olympics are over. Wait until after the Olympics are over for what? Richie, if it's the surgically repaired shoulder, he'd be done if it isn't a month. Docs today, though, are amazing, so maybe sooner, but you'd have to wear a harness. Titus, Nemo has more goals in OT than Luke's scored on us. Devil Dog, Sharon Govich played for a big contract, only 10 goals and scratch twice this year. He'd be perfect back here. We need another lazy underachiever. Man. My dog, 4GM, one of our players flew a paper airplane in the locker room, hitting Jack Hughes in the arm, causing a compound. Yeah, you guys are relentless. Ariel, dislocated shoulder can take 6 to 12 weeks. If you need surgery, probably done for the season. Hopefully Luke is okay. Hate to see him get hurt. JP, Ace, glad you're feeling better. The only thing that matters are the playoffs. The Devils are not and haven't been built for the playoffs for a long time. Could not agree with you more. I am the number one, probably vocal proponent of this group has been too soft. Their identity is unfortunately a finesse kind of soft identity, and that's not going to get you far in the playoffs at all. David says, play Kovacevic on his offhand. We'll make him hit even more. He played on the offhand fine a few games last season. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. My firm prediction is not really much of a prediction, I would say, is that, you're going to see Kovacevic, Dougie, and Nemo all in there. And so who gets shifted to the offside and what are the D pairings for next game? The Conniver says if Luke is $9 million, then Nemo should get $12 million. If I'm Nemo's agent, I'm certainly asking for the identical Luke Hughes contract. I don't think he's going to get it, but I still think he's going to get at least $7 million. Chill Anselmo says, I don't think I've felt less enthusiastic about a Devils team in my 38 years of life. It's a pretty rough time right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty down just because these were supposed to be the contending years. After that decade-long rebuild, I really thought, and again, foolish me, coming into this year, into the season, I really expected much better, and it started off that way. They gave us the ultimate tease at the beginning, and here we are. My Bop says it's hard to go on a winning streak when you can't score goals. That is completely true. Justin Smith says keep Nemec in the lineup. Could not agree more. He should never be scratched ever again. My Bop is a chance an NHL player. I think he could be. He only got the one game. I would like to see him get more of a chance as well. If the Devils are, later on in the year, like completely toast, then I think it would be worth giving him another look as well and let him get some NHL games under his belt. Chill Anselmo, I understand being upset at Luke's play, but being happy about an injury is some dog shit morals. How is he ever supposed to keep growing as a player when he's on the shelf? Totally true. Just the name Luke taking some time will help him mentally. 22 under that much pressure doesn't help. No doubt he likes his salary, but it seems he gets in his head and needs games away to recalibrate. Get well soon. 22. I'm confused. My dog for GM says I'd straight up trade Jack and Luke to Minnesota for Faber, Boldy, and picks. Billy Guerin would never do that deal. David Chimes, what do you guys disagree with? 15-20% chance of playoffs. World ain't black and white, and we are in a dark shade of gray. If that strikes you as optimistic, that's hardly my fault. It's definitely optimistic. And I hope you're right. Jersey Roots trade most of them, keep a couple, but this core can't cut a man's sport. David, I don't care who agrees with me being happy. A 22-year-old defenseman got hurt, and the team will do better without him in the lineup is just an insult and shows signs of classless fans. Yeah, a lot of people are really down on Luke. Like, I get it, but to applaud a dude getting injured, I mean, come on. Justin Nemec is a beast. Yes, he is. Trade Luke and Jackson. Who are we getting now that we have extra cap? Panarin, Stamkos, or Brady? You're going to get nothing. You're going to get a Sprong-esque type player, if anything. Brandon, I actually, to be honest, have no idea what Tom's strategy is going to be this offseason. Well, spoiler alert, he has no idea either. SJ, any other player won't score in the game winner there. Nemo, Mr. Clutch. I got to speed up. The man from Jers 201, I'm over the soft core. Please just replace as many of these guys as possible. Draft a dog in the draft if there even is one, and please bring back the cup-winning identity. I'm there as well. I do think these guys can be winners elsewhere, and part of it is I do think they were failed here by upper management. Like they never had the right complementary pieces around them, and they need to be surrounded by animals. Period. And we don't have any. I do think this group needs a shakeup, and I think it's long overdue. I don't think it'll happen, but we shall see. My prediction is we probably go into the summer and do small tweaks and see kind of more of the same next year. And as bad as this team has looked over the past couple months, I still believe that we would be maybe not firmly in a playoff spot, but we'd be like right on the cutoff if the Chicago cut incident never happened. I mean, even if we had 2 more wins, right? Just think about this. Even with 2 more wins at this point, we'd be a point out of third of the Metro and the wild card. And it seems so great, but 2 wins total more during that whole stretch. If we just scraped 2 more wins, everything would be different right now, but we didn't. And I do think Chicago cut ultimately derailed the season. Had that never happened, I would think we would make the playoffs this year. I really do. Brandon, Tom literally needs to do like 10 moves this offseason just to make cap space for Nemo and Grits. Well, you have to believe Dougie at some point is going to be one of them. Beam me up. McDavid has double the goals of our goal leader and double the assists of our assist leader. Isn't that telling? My God. Snow says it's 14% to make the playoffs. Okay. Justin, Sharks and Panthers game had a goalie fight. Yeah, we saw it. We talked about that earlier in the chat. What a scrap. And I did post. I'll post it in here too. If you're a newer fan, I posted on X. Well, I guess let me do that first, right? If you're not following me on X, I don't love the platform, but it's kind of a necessary evil in this world. And some people have been saying some real wild stuff to me, and I'm trying to bite my tongue to not do anything that's going to get me in trouble. But this is super old, I guess. But follow your boy. Running with the NJ Devils. I'll post the link, but I have a good video on the topic of goalie fights. Follow your boy on X. I guess, yeah, just go there. I'm not going to pull it up right now. Follow your boy on X. I'm getting a little more involved, and you can help me take on some of the delusional people on there that tell me I'm a bad fan when you talk realistic about the team. They just want sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. Everything's fine. And if you say anything about the Devils that's not good, you're a bad fan getting lectured by a really special group of people on X. Justin Ames says, my dream would be Dougie being traded and White filling in while Luke's out. That would be nice. Swamp Fox Nemo post-game interview. He reiterated that he needs to play a lot of minutes to be at his best. Hint to Fitzy and Keefe. They know. I don't know. It is crazy. I don't know why he has gotten the treatment. That he has. It is crazy. Brandon says it actually shocks me that people still think this team is making the playoffs. The problem is, Brandon, is they don't do the math, right? I'm a math guy, and I did the math, and when I did it, I'm like, 680 hockey for the rest of the season? Can't see it happening. But people will just cling on to they're 4 points out, they're 5 points out, and while it doesn't seem like an insurmountable deficit, it really is when you consider how many games are left and all the teams above us that you would have to pass. It is what it is. And again, I hope I'm wrong. Robert says, if Devs don't make the playoffs, what's the top 5 drafts looking like ace? I'm not a big prospect guy. Never have been. I pay attention to it more, after the season because, and this year you're talking about if the Devils don't make the playoffs, their season's over mid-April. The draft is in late June. So that's 2+ months to and it also gives more time to see how these prospects play for the rest of the season, wherever they're playing. And so I can't get into it super early. So I start paying attention to it much closer to the time, but I hope we're not drafting high. I mean, I really don't. Eric, wasn't this team's power play and penalty kill top 5 last season, even with all the injuries? What happened? But we fell off a cliff. I believe they were top 3. They may have been number 2 in one of them and number 3 in the other. And yeah, special teams used to be a pillar of strength for this team. And I don't know what the hell happened. The penalty kill missed Pesci big time when he was out. And I guess the power play missed Jack, despite still having all the other firepower that we have. And they just tanked. This will forever be referred to as the Chicago cut season. Because like I said, despite the team struggling now while we're near fully healthy, or I guess now we pretty much are fully healthy. If Chicago cut never happened, I think this is a playoff team. If we had 2 more wins, literally just 2 more wins right now, we're 1 point out. We're right on the doorstep of both third in the Metro and the wild card. But those 2 games are huge. Huge. More Gabagool says some of you need therapy celebrating an injury. Some also need to learn that a left D doesn't create our log jam at right D. Well, I guess you're talking about the Luke thing. Yeah, some of these people are just nuts. Richie says 7 to 10% chance of making the playoffs. We have to jump over 5-6 teams. We have to play insane and get a ton of help from other teams. Tough scenario math. Yeah, I did the math out a few games ago. I used the 97-point marker to get a playoff spot. And at that point I think there was 36 games left. And what do we have now? 33 games left. Yeah, basically 680 hockey. So at a bare minimum, the Devils have to win 3 of 4 on this road trip, which would be 750 hockey. Would be nice, but sweeping the road trip would be even better. But obviously it's a very tall order. 1 game down, 3 to go. Titus Dream says, biggest thing Luke needs to do is simplify the game. I fell super far behind. JP, I've been a fan since 82. I've never seen such hateful comments by fans. My only hope is that the comments are coming from fans of other teams just trying to be trolls. JP, I hate to tell you, these are Devils fans, in fact. I got to skip ahead here. I fell way behind. SJ, the scratch work. Dougie looks like a different player. Yeah, he's putting up points left and right. But he still has to go. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Serve, Dougie Hamilton is a stud playing like an all-star since the healthy scratch. Yeah, hopefully it entices a team to pull the trigger on him. But Fitz has to not be greedy on the return. And like I said, Pagnotta, I think, put out a report a few days ago that it seems like Fitz is really trying to play hardball here, which is crazy. Like, just getting his money off the books is a win. Well, what do you think you're getting back for him? Like, let's be real. And the fact that he's been producing points since he was scratched is probably fueling Fitz's insanity even more. Michael, hit the like. Thanks. Hit the thumbs up. Drew says, good luck tomorrow night, Brown fan. 1 goal against and 3 rolling finally without dry even. Are you you're an Oilers fan, Drew? David, the Predators hadn't shown jack crap, not even a flash, all last season. In the first 2 months of this season, declared as sellers when last in the NHL and won on a 675 points percentage plus extended run over extended period or in the race. Yeah, they're right there. And I wouldn't be surprised if, some of the names that were being rumored out of there end up staying there. Cellulite Therapy says, I fully expect Nemec to be a healthy scratch next game. There's 0 chance. 0 chance. And if for no other reason other than Luke is out. So it bailed them out. It really bailed them out of having to scratch somebody. Ethan says, I'm happy you're not dooming today. I never doom. Listen, people don't know what dooming is, apparently. There's a big difference between dooming and being realistic. 2 very different things. There were folks that are in here right now that were talking about how bad the Devils were amidst the 8-game winning streak. Like, that's dooming. That's dooming. But being realistic about where the team is not dooming. And I don't know why so many people have been conditioned to believe that if you are talking in reality, in the real world, not living in an alternate universe like many of these people are, that's considered dooming. Like, sorry, sometimes reality is negative, but that is certainly not dooming. Justin says Flyers will choke. Brandon, if Tom can get a top 6 and a 3C, I'll be pretty excited about the season. Brandon, I hope you're not talking about this season. If you think there's any chance of those happening this year, you are insane. Benjamin, we are 9-13-1 since December 1st, not cutting it. Not even close. Jay Snow, we haven't won 3 in a row since November. My dog for GM, fans like Nemo because he busted his ass during the summer, put in the hard work, and is becoming clutch. He doesn't benefit from nepotism like some. I don't even know how many people really know about his impressive summer. But he was getting active in the gym. Pick how much those gloves in the back cost? Are you referring to 2 of my children right here? Those are Marty. Those are Marty game used. Beautiful pieces. Mark thought Lenny was great, as did the whole chat, and I hope he's on the team for the rest of the year. There's no reason for him not to be. Everybody loves goalie fights. Yeah, Ginger, it's the immunity shot. You guys are hilarious. Am I going to have multiple people on my list besides Jay Snow? Multiple people going to have to get shown? I got it. We'll see. Today was my first day. I'm not going to be committed to this for a while. We'll see. For a few days, maybe my immunity boost will be up. I've been hit the sauna a couple times. Big sauna guy. Dislocated shoulder. Mersh Tube says, feel better. Thank you. Traveling runs in the family. I don't know what that was. What's up, Traveling? My dog for GM, you need some Zycam. What is that? SJ Lenny looked good. He deferred a little too much. We're probably nervous for his first game. I like that he's pretty big. Yeah, he's probably trying to set guys up. Hopefully he just starts letting it rip. Let it rip. Suk says you better start warming up to picks because picks are what we're eventually going to be drooling over again soon. I will never, ever drool over picks. Ever in my life. Brandon Ace, would you sacrifice our first round for Stamkos? I would need to know more details. Are you talking like straight up? Is it part of a bigger deal? I would need to know more details on that one. Zycam knocks out a cold in 2 or 3 days. I got antibiotics. Brian says Pesci will play in the left side in Luke's absence. He's the most responsible defensively. Yeah, earlier I said that was probably my guess, was that they probably will have Pesci do that. Serve says Schaefer is 18, not having a problem in this league. Yeah, again, you're using an outlier. Like, not everyone is going to be Schaefer. I don't know why people lean on this. It's insane. And Celebrini's 19, and he's better than everyone on our team. So what is your point? Archer, have a good one. Jason says, no way I'm giving up a first for Stammer. He's not making this team a contender. But the reality is, Snow, I'm not saying I would. I would need to know the rest of the details of the person who asked the question. But do you believe this team is going to use that pick and get something better than Stammer with it? Because I'll tell you straight up, I do not. And I also don't think – I would prefer to trade all these firsts. But the team is probably going to draft with them, and they're probably going to draft somebody who's mediocre at best, who doesn't help the team for years. There is more to Stammer than just production, and I think people have to start realizing, like, there is no real culture here, and that all matters. I think a guy like Stammer could help turn that around. Justin's on board. He says, get rid of the first-round pick for Stamkos. Titus, trade Lenny, bro. Our farm is shot. We need every one of those bottom 6 lottery tickets. Otherwise, you trade for Cotters and Sons. Dadonov. We need to start drafting better. Absolutely. And again, which is why I'm even more disinterested in draft picks, because what are we turning them into? Titus, we need a long-term 2C, 3C as Jack's always going down. Eric says we are 5 points away from third in the Metro on the wild card. I refuse to give up, and you shouldn't either. I'm obviously not giving up. I'm watching every game, and I'm sitting here talking about it afterwards. I'll never give up, but I'm also realistic, and I did the math. It's not really promising. Swamp Fox has to make the playoffs. Would have to go on a last year Blues-like streak. Highly unlikely. Completely agree. My dog for GM says the team is in the toilet. Trading away our first-round pick for a 35-year-old forward who will do nothing once he gets here would be plain stupid. Serve says Grits and Hameenaho look good. Justin says if Lenny goes back to Utica, we should throw eggs at Fitzgerald. Swamp Fox, you guys would love to see McLeod back. He has size, speed, grit, and face-off prowess. Perfect for third or fourth line center. Never happened. M. Cansania, Ace, thoughts on Sharks getting Sherwood for peanuts? It seemed like, based on the rumors that were out there a while ago, it seemed like they were going to get more for him, or at least they wanted more for him. That they wanted more for him. I think some of it has to do with the fact that he is going to want a good chunk of change after the season. So I think that played into it. But yeah, it seemed like, a lot of people were like, oh, the Sharks got fleeced. Like, they definitely didn't get fleeced. And I'm assuming their plan is to re-sign him and have him as part of their group going forward. So I could see that being one of those deals that works out for both teams. I mean, the Canucks are in a disastrous situation right now. And the Sharks are looking to complement the group they have with some missing pieces. What an exciting time to be a Sharks fan. Unreal. Justin Smith says if they don't get Carolina, I think they get out of the first round. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Luke says, I don't know how people still think Boozeface has a plan. That's kind of where I'm at. He doesn't look at the standings. His eye cam is good stuff. Eric, I feel like all the injuries weighed heavily on the season and it's caught up. I'm willing to give this core another season with some different pieces. I feel like dooming is too heavy right now. No, this core had their chance. If I was in charge, someone's gone. Stat. You don't get another chance. This was it, and you failed. No more living in fantasy land. They are not going to get it done. They've shown us who they are time and time again, and it's time you start believing them, Eric. Believe who they are. A flawed group that, as a group, will never do anything, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but one of them has to go. I agree with Suk here. Someone's got to go. Corey, hopefully they sit like in the video room and have him go over tones of tape to learn while he's out. Adam, I thought the amount of time it took Fitz to address media after the 9-0 loss to the Isles was embarrassing. He was in witness protection for a while. Devil Dog says, give the core one more chance. The future is bright. I'm with you. The core had their chance. This was the last chance, and they failed, or seemingly have failed. Would love to see them go on a tear, and somehow make the playoffs. But let's be real, without any major changes, and those aren't coming because we have Fitz. So this group has assembled. Even if they snuck into the playoffs, they're getting trounced just like they did last year. It's time for a shakeup. Long overdue. SJ says Nico, Brat, and Jack would look way better with more Timo-like players. Yeah, for sure, but you're not going to add any impactful ones without trading someone in the core. Cap space is just not there. Justin Schmidt has 15 wins this year. Franchise legend, Akira Schmidt. Execution, since Nemec got the OT goal, will be scratched next game, right? Well, the Devils got bailed out. With Luke's injury, they're not going to have to sit somebody on the right side. Snow Devil, we have 6 OT goals this season. Jack 1, Brat 1, Nico 1, Nemo has 3. Half the OT winners. What a stud. Yeah, who would have ever thought that, right? Like 2/3 of the way through the season, or a little more than halfway, whatever you want to call it, that Nemo himself has the same amount of overtime winners as, and you could even put Timo in there because he has 0, right? That Nemo has the same amount of overtime winners as Jack, Brat, Nico, and Timomeier combined. Insane. Completely insane stat. Luke says, a lot of future is always bright, brain dead, Kool-Aid drinking morons on X. It's crazy. Yeah, they're telling me I'm a bet. You're not a real fan. And I'm like, I'm not a real fan because it's not even like I'm like trolling and being like, F the Devils suck. Like nothing like that. Just talking openly, realistically about where this team is. They come out of the woodwork like you're, some evil monster for talking about the Devils realistically if it's not positive. And unfortunately, where this team is right now, it's not positive. And these trolls come out of, under the bridges and from the caves and wherever the hell they are and like start attacking you. And I'm like, listen, buddy, calm down. Calm down. Suk says they're not making it. Serve says Luke is dating Tate McRae's sister. Is that real? If that's real, I don't care about any of this stuff, but it's so funny that it becomes major news. If that's real, that's hilarious. Hold on. The future's bright, guys. Let me put these back on. SJ, they have won 3 of 4. They got to do that like 5 more times. Yeah, exactly. Basically need to win 3 of every 4 on average. Not impossible, but not easy to do. Brandon says, Tom Fitz, Nemec has been our best D-man. He gets scratched next game. Yeah, that was pretty perplexing. So many trolls on Twitter. Justin, they got to learn to score on a damn breakaway. Yeah, that'd be nice. That would certainly be nice. Vecna Fitzgerald says, takes 2 to tango. I don't look at the standings. I could have made cap space to acquire Quinn. Jay Snow, people kill Jack, but at least he has balls to go to the net with the puck. I'd love to see Timo drive hard to the blue way more often. I don't want to see spin around shots from him. He does like to drop the shoulder and kind of do the circle thing. Snow says, don't say that the injuries. I don't want to hear Fitz with that excuse again. Well, when you have known injury-prone players and do nothing to mitigate that, you're part of the problem. Traveling, why do people care about what sports players or celebrity is dating? Yeah, it's basically now with social media, it's basically what people, people used to buy all those tabloid magazines and those newspapers and shit back in the day. Now it's instantaneous on the social media. People love it. People love it. Devs fans have so many ex-Devs on the Flames roster. Justin Smith, don't ever go to the drive-thru. Always go up to the counter. My dog for GM Nemo is getting shit on by management because he's a threat to Luke's star power. They need Luke to be the co-face of the franchise. It's hard to do that when he's sucking and Nemo's coming up big. I mean, that I think is a complete conspiracy theory. That I can't put any stock into that. Jason says Fitz thinks he's getting back a top 6 winger for Dougie. And if that's true, and I could see it being true, that is absolutely frightening. Absolutely frightening. Like, if that's the hill he's going to die on, that needs to be the last thing he ever does. Like, if that's the demand, you are smoking crack. Any way to get this man out of here and with all of the $9 million is a win, in my opinion. And I think a win in many of your opinions. Now that he's going to sit there and try to act like this is some coveted asset that he's going to get some big return for is psychotic. Completely psychotic. My man, Matt, Nemo for president. Free Nemo. Free Nemo. I think he's finally freed. Jersey Root says Dougie playing well just proves he's been taking a dive since the Quinn saga. And that's kind of troublesome too, right? And like, if that's the case, I don't want players like that on my team either. Like, you're going to pout because they asked to trade you. Then you get scratched. Then all of a sudden you wake up. Like, why were you just dogging it before that? Personally, that pisses me off a lot. He says, run and explain difference between dooming and realism gets me all the time. It's very different. Very, very different. Brandon says Tom needs a top 6 and a 3C in the offseason. If not, the season's above. In the offseason, can he do it in the offseason? I don't know. I certainly have my doubts. Michael, everyone have a good night. Good win tonight. Have a good one. Randall says Lenny has energy. He hasn't been through the suffering. Yeah, maybe a guy that's not kind of beaten down from what this year has been is a breath of fresh air. Jason, no, too many of these guys are too damn comfortable in the offseason instead of getting after it. I completely agree with that. And we did see the crazy photos of Nemo just getting jacked. And it's paid off, between his just natural development on the ice and his increased power and strength. He's had a breakout year. What a year for Nemo. If only some of the other guys took it that seriously. And I do have to say that is an indictment on the organization. Back to the country club that Fitz told us was kind of prevalent. And it certainly seems like it's still here. There needs to be a mandatory, a very strenuous kind of in-season workout plan as well as an off-season one. And if they don't hit the metrics you give them over the summer, like, there's got to be some sort of I don't know what, disciplinary action of some kind. I don't even know what you can get away with in the CBA. But if you are not willing to put in the work, you are not willing to do what it takes to win, then you do not deserve to wear the crest, this beautiful New Jersey Devil logo. You do not deserve to wear the jersey and bring shame to our fan base and all of the legends that have made this jersey proud. NJ viewer says Stamkos is at the end of his career. He may only have one good season left in him. Don't make another Palat mistake. I've talked about this before too. First of all, there's zero comparison between Stamkos and Palat. Like, it drives me crazy that people keep repeating the same garbage. There is zero comparison between Stammer and Palat. Now, whether he's at the end of his career or not, Stamkos is stratospheres above Palat. And that's no knock to Palat, but Steven Stamkos is a living, breathing legend, a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no comparison. Zero comparison in any way. But that Palat contract certainly has given so many of our fans PTSD that they will refer to anyone over 30 as a reason not to get them. They're going to Palat 2.0. This is another Palat. I've never seen a contract do so much psychological damage to a fan base. It's crazy. B now says this team seriously needs a guy like Stamkos to teach young guys the way. Completely agree with this. Again, more so than anything, culture is huge. There is no culture here. There's been no true leaders here. There's a couple now, but they were brought in way too late. And I have said this in the past couple weeks. The organization failed all of our core guys because they came into the league and they did not have the proper mentors in place to kind of groom these guys and show them what it's about in this league. And I'll die on this hill too, because I have heard and from countless guys who have come through the Devils organization. Scott Gomez talks about it in an interview I did with him last year. And tons of other guys have talked about it as well, that when they broke into the league, there were not just one or two, there were several veterans that mentored these guys and showed them how to be a pro and what to do, what not to do. These kids never had it. And it shows. I call them orphan players. They're orphan players because they raised themselves in the league, and it is a problem. And I don't even know if it can be corrected at this point, or at least not corrected while they're here. I do think if you took these guys and threw them on other teams with veterans and all these other kinds of things, that they would kind of figure it out. But they've been kind of left to their own devices all these years, and it shows. They never had the proper mentors. Travelin says, I brushed over a headline that said the Pens might be trying to trade Malkin. I can't see it. I think this is all clickbait stuff too. And if they are, I heard the Wild would be really hot after him. But I think he's trying to stay with Crosby till the end. And the fact that they're in the playoff hunt, are actually in a spot right now, I can't see it. I just can't see the Pens trading him. Brandon says, isn't it sad at the end of his career, he's dominating every single player on our team? Prezify says, man, to put it in the nicest way possible, some of the people in here are dense idiots. Art, so the Sharks rebuild took them half the time it took the Devils, and they're already better. F fits. It's true. B now, I wouldn't give Stamkos $6 million. Malkin would be nice for the future youth. Titus Dream, I wish we could have seen Sharrow's version of this team. Certainly be better than this. Brandon, all these Stamkos haters have no idea what his stats are this year or what his career is, really. I mean, and the respect he would command on and off the ice everywhere he goes. Sook says Stammer and Ryan O'Reilly would instantly be the best players in the Devils right now. Snow Devil, the team is a contender. With the core we have, we're a perennial contender to make the playoffs. Snow Devil, what are you talking about? A perennial contender to make the playoffs? First of all, a contender to me is a team that you think has a chance to win a cup. This team is not that. Secondly, with the core we have, we're a perennial contender to make the playoffs. What does that even mean? If they miss the playoffs this year, that would be 2 of 3 seasons. Count them, 2. 2 of the 3 seasons following a franchise record-setting season in 22-23, which saw them get 112 points and beat the Rangers in a first-round 7-game series, would have missed the playoffs 2 of 3 years after that, and the one playoff berth being last year, they got curb stomped in 5 games by the Canes. That is not a contending team. That is an imposter. That is an absolute imposter. Jersey Roots is him and Sid are linked forever. Traveling, that's what I always thought would happen. Yeah, I think him and Sid are gonna stick together. Swamp Fox says the future looks bright for the Sharks. B now. Name your idea of who the core is. I think I forgot, or it's too late. When I say the core, I mean the big 4. Jack, Nico, Bratter, and Timo. Traveling Pens fans almost lost it all, then got them. Yeah, and Fleury's in there too. You can't forget the Flower with the picks, and they hit on all of them. And you know what draft fortune they had, in that all those guys delivered. But my God, Marc-Andre Fleury, Sidney Crosby, and Malkin really saved that franchise. It really did. My buddy Goody, other teams dominate games when they are supposed to, and this Devils team always seems to find a way to botch games. So being 5 points feels like a mountain. And again, there's a million teams that have to be jumped. Presify says future was supposed to be bright for how many years now? Idiots will keep spamming that. Well, some people will be duped no matter what. I'm tired of hearing about the bright future. These were supposed to be the contending years. These were supposed to be the contending years. Hold on 1 second, guys. But yeah, I don't want to hear anything about a bright future. NJ viewer, let's see how the 4-game road trip goes. If they do less than 500, Keefe needs to go. Keefe's not going anywhere, guys. If you haven't been paying attention, there's certain things that are pretty clear for the rest of the season. Fitz is not going anywhere. Keefe is not going anywhere, and there will be no major trades. What you see is what you get. Just a name. Shame we couldn't sign McTavish. He was an unrestricted free agent. Shoulda, woulda, coulda is all we get with this GM. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe coming in second. SJ says Nemo is a weird player, though. He's great, but the advanced stats don't look too good. Seems like the puck is in our zone a ton with him. Okay. Again, 21 years old. I'll live with the growing pains. Brandon T says, I can't believe no one is calling out Fitz for the blatant BS lies he made during that press conference. Brandon, have you been away for a little bit? I mean, there was a whole live stream about this, and people talk about it constantly. Nobody was fooled by that press conference. And I think there was maybe some people that were on the fence about Fitz, somehow still on the fence prior to that, were convinced afterwards of everything the Fire Fitz people were saying before. I think he did a pretty damn good job of proving everything those people were saying about him for a long time. So I'm talking about more on X. He's been pretty called out there too. Randall says, Dougie always so nonchalant, no fire. I will say this is a problem with the entire team. There is no emotion. There's no fire. It just seems like everyone's just kind of like that's a problem. You need some guys that are going to bring the fire. We have none of it. None of it. We need some new blood brought in. Fitz was a nervous wreck. You could hear his shaky voice. The stage is too big. B now says, Jay Snow, who said he wants a top 6 for Dougie, you're making stuff up now. They'll be lucky to have a team take the full 9. No, I think he was just kind of making a joke about like how detached from reality Fitz is. Like I'm with you. Any way you get his $9 million off the books, like that is a win. No one is going to be like, oh my God, Fitz didn't get a top 9 forward for like no the bar is on the floor. No one is expecting anything. Get rid of all $9 million, and that is a win. But to think that he thinks he's gonna do that and get some sort of return, I think is absolutely delusional. That's why Dougie's still here. It makes perfect sense. That and the fact that it has to be one of the teams on Dougie's list or a team he would consider waiving to go to. Summer boot camp needs to be mandatory. Completely agree. Justin says Nemec definitely deserves to wear the Devils jersey. Completely agree there as well. Traveling, there should be no hard feelings when a sports player gets benched, scratched due to lack of production when they get paid millions. It shows some think they deserve something without earning it. Brandon says, anyone here a GM expert? What GM in NHL history is worse than Tom? I don't know. Snow Devil, Devils rep trying to sell me season tickets. When I said I don't want to buy tickets for a team that doesn't play well, I guess this is the quote, the people buying season tickets are real fans. They'll always believe in the team. Oh, God, I would love for for a ticket rep to tell me that. I'd rip them to shreds, to absolute shreds. The people buying season tickets are suckers that will eat whatever you serve them. You give them spam and tell them it's filet mignon. That's the people buying season tickets. NJ Viewer, even tonight when they played really well compared to most games this season, they still made mistakes. Even Keith mentioned that. Lindy, the best coach of recent times, cut out player mistakes. Jason, no, they did say Fitz doesn't want to just give Dougie away. He wants a return. He clearly won't just take the cap dump, which is insane. Which is completely insane. SJ, luck plays a role. Sharks got lucky. They got the top pick in the Celebrini draft. Dude can carry a team by himself. It is unfortunate. No knock to Nico or Jack, but the 2 years the Devils won the lottery and had the number 1 overall, they did not get those type of players in either one. Justin says Fitz should be a greeter at Walmart. Jersey Root says, don't bring up Stammer. He'll pop a blood vessel. I'm tired of preaching to the people that don't know what they're talking about. The guy's an all-time great. I'm not saying go trade the farm for him. And at this point, I don't even know what direction the team is going to go in overall. But to pretend like this guy is cooked and has no value is insane. Completely insane. Amagi says Connor McDavid is going to become Connor McPalat once he hits 30. Art, Stammer's a legend, and Gamba has not missed him at all. He's so great. Another soft player. Our Stamps. Stamps is a legend. Who the hell's Stamps? NJ Viewer, Stamkos did nothing at Nashville in his first season, and we don't have time to bed him in. I'm not saying I want him at this point. I would still probably take him in the right deal, but when we looked like a legitimate team, he would have been a phenomenal ad. Phenomenal ad. Suk says, NJ Viewer, put down the wine bottle. Titus Dream Plot was a rough 30-plus. He was used up and grinded out post-playoffs every year. Florida found those guys before they burnt out. Jason Fitz will defend his mistakes till the death. I agree there. Snow Devil Crooks brought the energy. Legary and Halo also brought more energy than most of the regulars. Agreed with that as well, but they didn't have that jump and that offensive pop that Hameenaho had. And we really need that desperately. Yeah, comparing Stammer to Palat is insane. And the fact that people, and literally anytime anyone comes up over the age of 30, the Palat PTSD kicks in for these folks, and they're like, it's another Palat. It's insane. 600 goal scorers don't grow on trees. They certainly don't. Snow says we're not going to even make the playoffs. I agree with that. Suk, but I'd have to hope Stammer would be so beyond the mindset issues that plague our locker room. Yeah. David Chime says, cold 45, winner or loser beverage? Well, I guess it depends when you're drinking it. And that's the reality. The core has won one playoff round. And for the longer-term fellas in Nico and Bratter, they've won 7 total playoff games. Like, come on. Enough is enough. And I'm not putting that entirely on them, but they're a big part of it. They were failed by management in so many ways, as I mentioned earlier. Not getting the right pieces around them. They had no real mentors. There's a lot. Just the name, Letang, Flower, Crosby, Malkin, Sick. Yeah, what a run they had. Snow Devil, I was joking about being a contender to make the playoffs. Fitz said something along the lines of we were a perennial contender in the presser. Watching the presser made my blood boil. I thought I was going to pass out. Brandon, our core was taught to not hit or play hard on the boards. They were taught to score off the rush. We had a record season because teams didn't know how to counter it. Now our core doesn't know hockey. Justin says, who cares about the future? We'll all be dead in the future. Win now. Traveling Devils are in lockstep with Keefe. That was another good Fitz quote. SJ, they have to score goals. They get so many chances. And this is what I've been saying to the people that want to keep crapping on Keefe. Like, oh, his system sucks and this and that. It's like, they get tons of chances every game. You could knock Keefe's system all you want, and maybe is there a system that could be better for this team? Maybe. But the reality is these guys are getting chances every single night and cannot finish, period. Was it Sheldon Keefe's fault that Brown couldn't score on a breakaway tonight? No. Was it his fault that Nico couldn't score on a breakaway? No. Was it his fault that every time Jack cut through everybody and got to the net and got a pretty good scoring chance, he couldn't score? No. They're getting chances. They just cannot finish. Jason said, I don't know how good Fitz is. He had a really good, I guess that was some typo. I meant to say Keefe. I don't know how good Keefe is. He had a really good core in Toronto who could outplay his scheme. These guys, the guys he had in Toronto were way better finishers than our core completely. Matthews, and he was scoring goals at an insane rate. Now that core was damaged, right? And I would say they are a good chunk better than this Devils core. Brandon Fitz said it himself. That's why the team is uncomfortable playing in front of the net or playing on the boards. Titus Dream said Dougie is a desirable asset, just not at $9 million. Completely agree. And that's why if you have any deal to get him out of here with all $9 million, you got to do it. Justin Name says Dougie for a 5th round, basically the best he'll get for him. Well, it seems like he wants a lot more than that. And Milbury may be worse. Man, it is crazy that he traded away. And obviously, I don't remember enough of the details surrounding it, but multiple first ballot Hall of Famers at key positions, Roberto Luongo and Zdeno Chara. Monster of a man defender. And Roberto Luongo. Crazy. Titus Dream Nemec is a big moment player. You let him grow while playing. Completely agree. Completely agree. David Chimes, I do think Dougie gets a small return, like a 2nd-round pick with the full contract. You did say this a couple weeks ago or a week ago. If Fitz is asking more, he's crazy, but that's a fair price. Can't prove it more in the chat box. I mean, yeah, I would honestly be thrilled with any deal that gets all $9 million out. And if he gets a 2nd-round pick, how could it get any better than that? That already seems like too good to be true in some ways. Bonzo said we still need some major changes now before our slim chances are gone. Oh, Bonzo. You think this team's going to make any sort of moves where they are in the standings? The punt team has been in for quite some time now. The playbook has been revealed to us a long time ago. There will not be any meaningful ads. B now says Dougie Dump is a huge win. Travelin said Chico said Milbury is on the radio. How did that come up? How the hell did Milbury come up on the radio, Travelin? Snow Devil, I don't know about the puck being in our zone when Nemo's on the ice, but he's a +2 this season, so we do well when he's on the ice. By the way, only 3 other players on the team are in the plus category. M can't say any wait. Stamkos did nothing. He put up 50-plus points in a down year last year. Sorry he didn't single-handedly will the Preds into the playoffs. Jason Nelson, we need a prick in this locker room who's going to drag this team into a fight. Completely agree. Huge missing element. Got to get it immediately. One of the many reasons why I'll always dream about the guy you guys all know I want. Jersey Roots Ace, who's your favorite current comedian? I got to go with my man, Sebastian Maniscalco. Got to go with Seb. Jason, no, this team just falls apart during games. They have no stamina. Randall, the culture needs changing or this will continue. Completely agree. Everything starts with culture. Culture, number one, everything comes after it. The culture has been broken for quite some time, and it needs to be repaired. It certainly needs to be repaired. M. Cansania Ace, the future will be bright when we trade Nemo, land Shen, and then trade Dougie for Darnell Nurse winning. I really hope they don't trade Nemo in some stupid deal. Jason says that's not true. Nico, second in the league in board battles, 1, and Timo can play physical. What was that in reference to? Snow? The problem is they surrounded the core with no sandpaper. Brandon, well, it could be Keith's fault for the lack of finish. Are we doing really good practices for this? I'm not sure. These guys have played hockey their whole lives. You cannot remotely blame Keith if they cannot finish on the glorious chances they're getting. It's insane. Jason, I'd like to see Timo be more of a menace in front of the net, but I watched Timo get thrown out of the crease by 4 players the other night, and no one helps. Yeah, and I said that before, too. I do believe when you're surrounded by a bunch of soft guys, And then eventually you'll lose a little bit of that edge. And on the flip side, if you drop a guy like Timo on a team with a bunch of other killers, I think he raises it. There's no way to prove it anytime soon. I mean, if he eventually goes to a team with a bunch of them and he starts, becoming a wrecking ball again, you need to have a scrum there. Yeah, this team is not very scrummy. There's no balls on this team. These guys don't even fight for each other. I agree. When was the last time we had a fighting major? Like, I don't need to see them all the time. But, like, the fact that I couldn't even tell you the last time we had a fight is, like, what is going on with this team? You can't teach passion. I agree with that. Need to bring in new blood who grew up with dog mindsets. Agree there. Jersey roots. Dougie's value should go up if a lot of the players get injured during the Olympics. I mean, this is – now we're counting on guys to get injured to raise our guys' trade value. I mean, traveling, Chico was talking about when he went into the stands and hit the guy with the shoe but wouldn't fight on the ice. I've seen that clip. Jay Snow, could be a reason Timo's physical play is down when you have more guys who will mix it up. Everyone gets involved. M. Can't say Milbury sucked as a GM, but he was a beast on those big bad Bruins teams. He was the one who climbed into the stands and beat a guy with his own shoe. Sebastian is a beast, like Seb. Art, Dale Quinn is better than Seb. Don't know who that is. Just the name, favorite comedian, Tom Fitzgerald. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, did he say that or did he infer? Suk, you don't build culture from within a lot of the time. You bring identifiable pieces in who fit the culture you want to create. This organization has failed with that. Completely agree. I do think Brendan Dillon and Connor Brown are two of those guys. The problem is they've come into the locker room where they're kind of the outsiders, and they're not going to be able to overtake or kind of overpower what has already been created here. And that's the problem. That all circles back to orphan players that never had the proper mentors from the beginning. These guys have bad learned behaviors over nearly a decade now. They would have to go to another team where it's not their team and kind of get the culture shock that they desperately need. Brandon says, I don't get it. Would it hurt to do breakaway drills 1 hour a day during practice? How long do you think practices are? They're not doing breakaway drills for an hour. The whole practice is less than an hour or about an hour. Snow Devil aces with immediately giving up a goal after we score. It's come to a point that I was expecting the Flames to score right away. I guess it made it less disappointing when they scored. It is a strange phenomenon with this team. They score and give it right back nearly immediately, very frequently, for whatever reason. I don't know that we'll ever know, but it is certainly a disturbing trend. I don't know what the Dilly seems hesitant. That cheap shot that dropped him in the Blue Jackets game was not good. David Chimes said, I watched the Sharks bully the Cats in Sunrise, a bruiser layout of Tkachuk in his return, a goalie fight where the guys on the bench were high-fiving each other. Devils have none of this energy. And I tweeted that earlier today as well on Twitter when I saw the goalie fight. Like, how much fun it must be to be a Sharks fan right now. A young, competitive team with a truly bright future, just looking like they're loving life. And I saw the bench, Celebrini and all of them were fired up, smashing the boards with their sticks. Like, that's a team that cares. They want to win, and it shows. And it really shows. This team has nothing like that at all. And it's sad. Ours says Timo wishes he was on the Sharks. He probably does. Jay Snow, it seems like since Dylan got dropped, his physical play went away. A little bit. Jersey roots, that Timo leave of absence messed his dome up. He hasn't been the same since. We don't really know what the hell happened there, but he had a good game the other night in that loss against Carolina. He was our best player. He trucked Aho, had the only goal, had a couple other decent plays. Team was like I left California for this. Well, he got traded anyway. It's not like he signed. No, he didn't say it, but he wanted to. He got worked up going off on one of his stories. I love Chico stories. Jason, there's been like no practices this year with the Olympics. Yeah, not a lot at all. Practice is not too long, especially this year with the condensed schedule. Randall says, going to suck for Timo when Nico leaves and he's stuck here. I hope that's not the case. But I've made it very clear my thoughts on Nico potentially leaving. Hold on, I got to step out again. 1 second. I got to clear the sinus situation. Be right back. Man, this winter is kicking my ass. I think I need to go to Florida for a couple days or something and get some sun. I feel like this winter's just killing me. But listen, 1-0 on the trip. Hopefully they 3-1 would be great. 4-0 would be phenomenal. Philip says, morning, let's go Nemo. What's up, Philip? What a game for Nemo, the hero once again. And hopefully Nemo is fully freed now. Now that Luke has been injured, the Devils kind of get bailed out in terms of having to scratch one of those guys. SJ, that tying goal sucked. Mark had no chance because the Flame was right in his way because the Devils don't clear the front. Another thing I kind of get furious about, something that would have never happened during the glory years of the New Jersey Devils. If you went anywhere near Marty, and obviously it's a little bit of a different game, so you could use some tactics to clear the crease that you wouldn't get away with now. But like Dano, when Dano was out there, if you went near Marty, my God, Dano was chopping dudes, cross-checking guys. What a time. What a time it was, because that crease was cleared, and cleared with a vengeance. Dano, Stevens, guys like Whitey. You went near Marty, there was hell to pay. And it seems like anything but that these days. People are all up in Markstrom's face, just carefree. Art says, if I'm Nico, I'm out of this shit show. I hope not. Brandon, Ace, if you had to throw out a percentage of Nico leaving, what would your estimate be? Oof. Well, that also includes the team potentially trading him if he doesn't sign, right? I think right now, for me, it's probably like a true 50-50. I would say it's probably a 50-50. I think Nico wants to stay here, but I think that he also values winning, and I can't see him delusionally convincing himself that this is a place to win with a serious ownership group in place. I just can't see him being that foolish. There'll be lots of contenders who will pay him handsomely to join their team. And here's the other thing. He won't have to be the guy. And this is the reality on nicohischier. I love nicohischier, but he is not the guy. Nico is a great complementary piece or kind of a secondary level guy on a winning team. He's kind of been positioned as one of the guys here, and that's not who he is. He is not the guy. And I love Nico, but he's not the guy. He would fit in great on one of these deep, playoff type teams like a Florida, a Tampa, a Vegas, somewhere like there, or some team like one of them where he does not have to carry all the weight and do all the heavy lifting. He'd thrive, and he'd have a chance to win and not deal with all the pressure that he deals with here. If I was him, I'd be out, but we'll see. Randall, I wouldn't fault Nico for leaving. He deserves better. Stuke says he definitely deserves better. Jersey Roots, definitely Nico wants a cup, not all this drama. Philip says Nemo better not be scratched again. He won't be because Luke got hurt. So the Devils got bailed out of having to scratch somebody. Randall says some of our players deserve the losing. Traveling, the flu cold is going around down here too, and it's 35 degrees the past few nights. Yeah, what is it during the day, though? If I could catch some 70s, mid-70s days right now, I'd be in my glory. David chimes, there's no oomph here, no spirit. That's the biggest reason to give up as a fan. Team doesn't care enough. Mopes. Even in 23-24 before late February, I saw some fire even through bad times. And I've talked about this as well, David. Could not agree more. It's not just the losing. It's like the dejected fashion in which they lose. They lay down and die. Like no pushback, no energy, no big hits, no fights, no anything. It's just like emotionless, robotic losing. And it's painful. Completely painful. Justin says Marty is God. That is a fact. Snow Devil Dougie has been great the last bunch of games. Hopefully he keeps it up. Suk says 35 to 40% chance. Philip, imagine Sharks win a playoff series before us. I tweeted that today, and that was what caused me to get attacked by a bunch of people. I said something along the lines of the sad reality is that the San Jose Sharks will win a playoff series before the New Jersey Devils. Traveling's outside right now. Very nice. What is the temperature here now? It's pretty damn cold, and there's snow everywhere. It snowed a couple times the past couple days. I hate the snow. Would love to never see it again. Yeah, it's 19 degrees right now in northern New Jersey. My God. Tomorrow, a high of 31. Thursday, a high of 39. Friday, Friday, a high of 32. And my God, this weekend, bone chilling. Saturday, 15 degrees. Sunday, 16 degrees. And Monday, 18 degrees with a 75% chance of snow on Sunday. Absolutely brutal. Brutal. Jersey Roots says, same here, been rocking my fireplace like crazy. Jay Snow, I wish we had a Kachuk or a Marchand. I miss having those guys who would mix it up and talk trash. Yeah, you need those guys to win. Look no further than the New Jersey Devils glory years. Every team had tons of these guys. And when you look at the current teams that go far, they have them as well. This is not a difficult concept to grasp. The fact that people have not figured this out yet or refuse to believe it is crazy. Jersey Root says Nico's not a guy. I say he's not the guy. He's not the guy. David Chimes, Sharks blue line is too weak to win around this season. I really would have loved Dougie to go there. It's a perfect fit. You never know. They could get hot at the right time and get lucky in the playoffs, but my statement stands. It doesn't necessarily have to be this season. I just said the Sharks will win a playoff series before the Devils. The way this team's looking right now, there's no chance it seems like they're going to miss the playoffs this year. And they very well could next year as well. Traveling every day is one day closer to hell on earth summer, so I'm enjoying this. SJ says any team with Celebrini, I would bet against him. Wouldn't bet against him. Okay. Randall, imagine him in Colorado behind Nelson and Mac. I mean, yeah. Any loaded up team, you add a guy like that could put you from contender to like a favorite or one of the favorites. Suk says we don't have the guy. Our guy is always injured and causes the team to fall apart when he is out. Jason said, don't get me excited talking about mid-70s weather. I can't wait, man. This is one of the more miserable winters I can remember in a while. I've always hated the winter, but this year, I feel like it's hitting me a little bit harder. Suk says Nico's a complimentary second-line center on any real cup team, and he would fit that role perfectly. I agree. Jason, the team looks like they're going to cry when they're down instead of looking for blood. Yeah, mentally weak. Mentally and physically weak. I hate to say it. You need some dogs, and we really don't have any. You need them all over your lineup. Up and down the lineup, you need the dogs. Philip says, did you see Marino is 5th in the NHL for plus minus? I did not see that. I'm trying to sell my kayak. Why would you sell your kayak? Brandon Ace, what's your prediction in the Devils offseason? How do we re-sign these players, and how do we get forward help? My prediction is Tom gets lucky with an injury and signs Nemo and Grits. Well, that's obviously the plan. A lot of the money's probably going to come from Dougie, I would imagine. Maybe they finally figure out the Palat thing, and that should be more than enough to sign those two, and that's without the cap increase. SJ says Celebrini is not even big, but his competitiveness and passion is light years better than our stars. For sure. He's a gamer. And he's very good. Jason said, what happened? We had a few winters in a row where it never really got cold. I don't know. I just hate the winter. I hate the cold weather. Marduk says it's being reported that Luke has a dislocated shoulder. Let's see. So the AI overview says NHL players with a dislocated shoulder are typically out 2 to 6 weeks if treated non-surgically. If surgery is required, in parentheses, common for repeat injuries or severe tears, which this could be the same shoulder for Luke. I'm not sure if it is. Recovery can extend 5 to 6 months, with some players missing significant time or even a full season, depending on severity and position. Oh, boy. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. Snow Devil, unfortunately, Nico would do really well in Carolina, and they have the extra cap space to add him. Hope he doesn't abandon us, but I honestly couldn't imagine how he'd want to stay in this mess. I can't imagine how anyone who really wants to win would stay here. What has been done by upper management to make you believe that they're ever going to turn the corner? Austin says it's cold in Florida right now. Better to go to Florida in the summer. I want to go somewhere that's warm right now. Maybe I'll have to go further west. Travel in this cold air is making me realize what I'll need for Milano. Robert says it could be worse. Imagine being a Rags fan. That franchise is a mess. Yeah, but here's the thing. Who's going to be closer to being competitive? Because we're barely better than them. They're probably going to free up a bunch of cap space and try to make some big-time signings or big-time trades. Jay Snow, it's extra miserable. I got the flu for the first time in years. It's super cold, and my hockey team is in the dumpster. I'm pretty much right there with you across the board. Painful. Austin says, I say Nico will stay. It's not his fault. No one's saying it's his fault, but at some point, he's got to be like, I'm not going anywhere, staying here. Brandon says, I think Tom is 100% throwing someone on injured reserve to make cap space for Nemo and Grits. Everyone on this team is injured. You're talking about months from now. Marino's 6 now, the plus 31. Brandon says Tom cannot make a trade, at least not in season. Jay Snow, don't worry, Ace. We'll have LTIR that we won't use. I predicted that a few weeks ago as well. Forget LTIR. Even if we trade Dougie, I'm fairly certain that they're not going to use that cap space to bring someone in this year. Philip, Nemo is second for OT goals at least, probably the only Devil to be in a top 5 stat. Got Nemo as a gamer, probably the only one we have right now. Glass definitely does try. I do like Glass. Robert says, I had a separation shoulder in college. It still pops out and will unless surgery. Luke is done this year. Man. SJ says, agree, Ace. Love Nico, but he doesn't produce enough to be that guy. Yeah. It's a lot of expectations were kind of thrust on him at a young age. Brandon, I think there's a better chance of the Devils winning the Cup this year than Fitz making cap space for Nemo and Grits. You keep talking about this cap space for Nemo and Grits. I'm pretty sure it's a non-issue. Dougie will be gone at some point. There's a good chance Palat will be as well. Just see something. And the projected cap for next year is $104 million. So it's a non-issue. There'll be space for Nemo and Grits. Suk said it'll absolutely take Nico leaving to kick this franchise into reality, and only then will serious, drastic decisions be made by owners. I hate to tell you, I don't even think that him leaving would snap them into reality. I really don't. Austin, can the Devils beat Edmonton knowing they are struggling to score goals? Anything is possible, and that is why the game of hockey is beautiful. Hopefully the Devils could score at least 2 and win 2-1. I'll take it. They have to win any way they can. And obviously they need to cut down on the penalties because they have 4 tonight? Yeah. Yeah, you can't give that Edmonton power play 4 cracks at it. Can't do it. Got to keep the penalties down. Special teams are going to be big tomorrow. Robert says, anyone notice Jack's white skates? Am I seeing things? Robert, what are you, like months behind? He busted those out forever ago. Phillips says, owners don't care. 3 of their 4 teams have gone to crap. Yeah. What's the other one? The Commanders, Sixers, and is the other one the soccer team? Is the other one the soccer team? David Celebrini is Crosby level. I know there's a lot to prove in his career, but I haven't seen a guy become the 3rd best center in the NHL as a team. Certainly looks like he has it. He's playing at a point and a half per game pace. He was on pace to finish like 125 or something. Beast. What did he do today? Wow. Somehow they scored 4 goals and he did not register a point. Interesting. Suk says, I'm trying to think of any possible scenario in which we aren't a losing franchise for the next 5 to 7 years. I think there's a chance that, what do you mean by losing franchise? I'm hoping that, and it's probably a lot of hopes, but I'm hoping that a new GM comes in sooner than later and can kind of turn this thing around. I mean, we have assets and pieces here where we shouldn't be this bad. But it starts with a couple big shake-up trades. Randall says we need to keep out of the box and not get power plays. Yeah. Oilers got some lethal guys, obviously. Philip, Crystal Palace in England, where their manager called the owners out yesterday for selling their 3 best players mid-season. Oh, can you drop a link about that, Philip? I would love to read about that. I could have sworn I don't know if it was you or somebody else. I had seen something about this, but then I forgot to kind of follow up to see what exactly was going on. Brandon says we're a top 6 and 3C away from being decent. Maybe. And I also agree decent is not good enough at all. This team can score when Jack's healthy. But like everyone's pointed out, like you cannot have a whole team built as a house of cards propped up on one dude, because he has shown the odds are he is not going to play a full season. And it's so bad now. It's to the point where, his latest injury wasn't even playing hockey. He wasn't even on the ice. It was at a fucking restaurant. Like, it's crazy. You cannot build a team that is relying on one guy who cannot stay on the ice. Like, this is just a fact. And so if that's going to be the logic, then you're doomed already. Yeah, hope is all we have. Robert says, don't Devs have Tage Thompson twin brother? No, they got rid of him a while ago. David, only second win the Sharks had when Celebrini not on the score sheet. He's on the ice for 70% of all goals for. That's a crazy stat. That is a crazy stat. Brandon, I just think we're missing too much top 6. Completely agree. We still have a top 4. Still have a top 4. The big 4. Toffoli was never replaced. And here we are. Yes, my man. On to it. Snow Devil, I enjoy watching Sharks games just to see the kid. Crazy as at the top of the league as a teenager, insane. Yeah, it looks like he's having tons of fun doing it, and his whole team looks like they're really enjoying it. Imagine having a team that was just like excited. I haven't felt that excitement as a Devils fan in forever. Yeah, Jack's been wearing the white Bowers for a while. Brandon, I don't really think it's on Jack. We just don't have enough top 6 players to compensate a top 6 injury. And not only do we not have a top 6, a deficiency in the top 6, our top 6 guys just have not been playing good enough on top of that. So it's like we don't have enough legit top 6 players, and the ones that we have are all having awful years. This is all obviously a recipe for disaster. Justin asked Tate if Jack can score. Jason, no, Christy Flannery was laughing when you asked about Jack's injury. Yeah. Brandon, any top 6 guy injured, we're going to struggle. Robert says, Snow, I didn't catch Jack's whites before. I don't know how. I don't know how. People freaked out online when he first came out with those. I feel like it was maybe in October. It was a while ago. Snow Devils, I think the Habs have Tuck's brother. Jason, no, I would text Christy for the real story. What's the real story? I don't know that she knows the real story. I just think that a lot of people kind of speculate that that story is nonsense. But Brandon, we go from only shutting down 2 lines instead of 1. Good night, Justin. Robert, have the Devs ever got an impact draft pick like Schaefer? I can't remember ever. You mean like right away, like rookie season? David, Toffoli's production fell off this season. Rarely plays with Macklin. Well, for a guy who's fallen off, he still has 32 points, which would put him as currently the 3rd highest scorer on the Devils, if he was on the Devils, behind only Nico and Bratter, who have 37 each. And then Jack has 31 in 31 games, and Mercer has 29. Toffoli would be the 3rd highest scorer on the Devils. Yeah, Will Smith's pretty damn good, too. Jason, no, Jack and Jesper are more playmakers and pure scorers. Timo's a volume shooter. Nico's a responsible two-way center. We don't have a pure shooter who's on this team that could just rip it. Brandon, Fitz seems to think we don't need a 3C or a top 6, so this team's a joke. I mean, listen, all you can hope for is to get lucky or for change. Mueller, before my time, but I don't think his rookie season was. Yeah, no, he had 17 goals and 37 assists for 54 points. Schaefer also could be one of these generational type players. Like, it's hard to, most teams won't have a guy that has the impact that he did so quickly. It's pretty rare. It's extremely rare. Suk, 22-23 reminds me of a baddie that I got with a few years ago. Only realized that without the makeup on, she was, oh, God. Brandon, is he even aware this team is struggling to score? While he doesn't look at the standings, I'm sure he's watching the games that he's at, and it's painfully obvious that this team is struggling. Like, there's no way around it. They cannot put the puck in the net, so he's aware. He is aware. Robert says, imagine Pens don't fold and we get Mario. Imagine the Cups we'll have. Are you talking about when the Penguins tanked to get Lemieux? Jay Snow. Stammer's a guy who has a wicked shot. I was down for him when we were still in it. So was I. And I'm still not against potentially getting him in the right deal, but I just can't see it happening. And it would start with retention, obviously, and I don't think they're going to do that. And it was more exciting for me when we were in a playoff spot and thinking of adding him as like a piece for the run. It's definitely lost a lot of its luster, but I still think the team could benefit from him in a vacuum. I just don't know that it'll ever make sense because of what he makes. Brandon says, don't worry, Ace. The no move clauses didn't play a factor at all to get Quinn. Oh, I know. He could have made the space. He just chose not to. What a wild thing to say. Jason said, I'll bet anything the Rangers win the lottery this year. They want the Rangers to be good. That would be brutal. SJ Jack is our best draft pick, so no Crosby level draft picks. Yeah, we had 2 number 1 overalls, and we got Nico and Jack. Good players, but they're nowhere near, Celebrini, McDavid level. Like, why couldn't we get a number 1 overall pick in a year that, these true game breakers were available? Sucks. Jason said if they get McKenna, it will. For everything I'm reading about this kid, I don't think he's going to be one of those guys either. Like, you think McKenna's going to be a Celebrini? David Brodeur was an impact rookie, .915 save percentage in conference finals as a 21-year-old rookie. That's not Schaefer level, though. And what? But to your point, I guess that could be the closest thing. And then losing in Game 7 to the Rangers, man. What a terrible way for it all to end. Brandon, Tom Fitz offseason is going to be wish and believe this team can score again. It very well could be. Snow Devil says Schaefer is the reason people get excited about draft picks. Yeah, but people have to realize, Robert, I just saw your thing. Marty was not a third rounder. He was drafted in the first round, number 20 overall. But back to Snow Devil, Schaefer is the reason people get excited about draft picks. But it's like, remember, most guys are not Schaefer. Like, that's like super recency bias, right? Like, again, and it's no shade to them, but Jack and Nico were number 1 overall picks. We have some of them on our team, and they did not have. And you're talking about them now versus their rookie seasons were nowhere near, not even remotely in the same realm of what Schaefer's doing in his rookie year. And that's why I think people have to realize those types of guys are few and far between, and they're not all going to have that impact on your team. They're just not. Robert says, remember those tank years? Thank God for the lottery. Jay Snow, yeah, and they said last year was awful. We could have had Makari as a superstar. But I don't think he was, Nico was the consensus number 1, I think, on every draft board. Jay Snow, there's also 2 other players who are really good. Suk says, hindsight's 2020. We could have had a monster team by now if the Devils drafted how they should have in hindsight. Who's to say they developed the same way here, but some of the players we passed on, big oof. Brandon Ace, if you were GM, and in your opinion, do we trade for a few pieces and see what this team can do? Or do you just go into rebuild now and get some good picks now? I don't think I'd go into a rebuild. I would try to go into a retool, which certainly starts with trading a core piece away. Like, there needs to be that shakeup. That, stagnation is the devil. We are not going to accept this underperforming any longer and send a shockwave through the locker room. One of the core pieces must be shipped, and then you look to bring in some fiery, emotional guys who play with a physical edge and can produce. That's the type of guys I'd be looking to bring in, because I feel like your only options are to do a bit of a retool situation. I really think that's really your only option. They're not going to sell off everybody. And what are you going to go into? You're going to go into a full-blown rebuild as you're approaching the prime years of Jack Hughes' career, because he's not going anywhere. So what? You're gonna rip it all down while he's entering his prime years? That doesn't make sense either. So I think it's got to be a little bit of a retooling. David says, Jack, injuries aside, and Nico are both very good number 1 picks, just not generational level talent like Schaefer, Celebrini, McDavid, Crosby, etc. Jack healthy, not playing for no offense. Sheldon is close. Oh yeah, David, you're the one that was you were bashing Keefe last time. Explain to me what about Keefe's system? Failed all the guys that missed breakaways tonight. Jack Hughes missing all his chances. Is that all Keefe's fault too? And yeah, no, I wasn't saying Jack and Nico weren't good picks. They are, but to your point exactly, they're not the generational level talents of the guys you named. And I think people expect, all number one picks to be those guys. And the reality is more times than not, they are not those guys. They're just solid players like Jack and Nico. Robert Isles almost picked the Long Island kid that went to Boston. Isles hit a grand slam. SJ said, would have been a real gutsy move to get Kale at that time, but obviously the right move. I don't think anyone on the planet was picking Kale McCarr with the number 1 overall that year. Robert says, retool. Jay Snow, our scouting department is awful. We need to, watch what the Giants did and bring in a Harbaugh type guy in. Yeah, that's a culture move. That is a huge culture move beyond just the X's and O's. That changes the culture. Jersey Roots, like and subscribe, all you filthy animals. Thank you, sir. Oh, my God, it's late. These late games. SJ said, I think Corey might have cost us McDavid. Maybe. Buttersmooth says, missed the game, caught the score. Can imagine how it went, but how'd they look tonight? I mean, they looked better than normal, but they're playing a crap team. Once again, could not bury their chances. Should have probably won minimum 3-1 in regulation. Connor Brown whiffed on a breakaway. Nico got stoned on a breakaway. Jack had a bunch of decent chances, but couldn't get enough on his shot. Jay Snow, we need to clean house completely. Fitz, Madigan, McKinnon, only Marty can stay. We're in lockstep, as they would say, Snow. Completely in lockstep. Clean out everybody except Marty. Brandon, I think I'd rather have a full rebuild and get it over with and start over, get some players that want to win. Players that will crash the net and fight. But you could do that in a retool. Yeah, retool. You can't do a full rebuild entering the prime years of Jack Hughes' career. You just can't. There's too many decent pieces here to do that too. I do think their record is much worse than they actually are. Suk, the only real jackpot selection this team has made in modern history was Bratt. The rest were unfortunate, obvious consensus picks NJD had to make, and the rest were busts and flopped. Completely agree with that as well. They went with who everyone would have picked with the number 1 overalls with Jack and Nico. And then the lukehughes at number 4 pick that's pretty much right around where he was predicted to go. And the fact that we had Jack, it was pretty obvious that we were going to take Luke. So that was pretty much a no-brainer. And then where they had some choices to make, the jury, I love Nemo, but I think the jury we still need to see a lot more before we could accurately assess that pick. But Holtz at number 7 was a complete debacle. We'll see what happens with Salayev at number 10. Jay Snow, that's why you trade a Brad Mercer or whoever else. SJ, the Holtz one is painful, I think. That was a draft with Jarvis, too. Jay Snow, those guys only come around every so often. It was Jarvis was the Holtz draft. Robert, maybe Matthews. Keefe has a hard-on for him. What do you think? Who for Austin? What? They're not trading us Austin Matthews. Brandon, I'm a little too nervous. Jack has had way too many massive injuries to not be the same again. We will see. I think he'll be all right, but I don't think he's ever going to play 82 games. Yeah, sometimes players just don't mesh. Exactly. This is the thing. No one's saying these guys suck, but as a group here, they're just not getting it done. I don't know how people could just go, and then constantly want to see this team trot it out every year after year. How many seasons do you need to see it? You guys, for those of you that have been watching me for a while, I put out that video, The Last Dance, I guess in the summer, because I truly said this seems like it's going to be the last dance. And it should be. Experiment needs to be over. Ty and Holtz were brutal picks. Yeah, Ty Smith was a bad one, too. Devils have had bad drafting forever, unfortunately. True. Brandon, a lot of hand injuries. Your hand is never the same. It's still, he's still wearing that thing underneath. Like, I think he's still in healing mode. Let's see when he's fully healed up. But he's definitely compromised right now. Jay Snowson, like I said before, the Buffalo team had so much talent they couldn't win anything. Yeah. But it's move. What if the twist was Brodeur's strong influence due to legacy inside, and all along he was steering the organization the wrong way, and we have to tearfully put him down of Mice and Men style. There's no chance that Marty is behind this. Marty's probably dying inside watching what has become of this team. Snow Devil says, we got lucky. We got super lucky with Bratt, and we won 2 lotteries. Where would we be without this good fortune? Well, in all that time, we've won a single playoff round. So maybe we'd be a playoff round winless. But in the Jesper Bratt career with Nico, a single playoff round won and 7 total playoff games won. That is for people that have this bleeding heart for the core and like, you can't break up the core. Like, wake up, guys. They've won 1 playoff round in 7 games. Like, what are we talking about? What on earth are we talking about? It's time for a shakeup. Robert says no morale. Jay Snow, where are we now watching the playoffs from home? SJ Devils don't seem to draft players that play Canada junior hockey, too many Europeans. Completely agree. I want to see big boy North Americans. Give me America, give me USA guys, give me Canada guys. The bigger the better, the meaner the better. That is the type of player I want to see injected into this team. That is what we need. Just get big, rough and tumble North Americans. I'm done with the finesse Euro guys. I'm sorry. I'm just over it. Maybe I'm scarred. Call it what you will. But I know what I saw in abundance, or what was in abundance, what elements were in abundance on the cup-winning teams and competitive Devils teams, and what I've seen now in this, what I'll call the Fitzgerald dark era of Devils hockey, and they're wildly different. Wildly different. Brandon says, this team is bad when Dano showed up to the Fitz presser. Yeah, when you heard his voice come over the thing out of nowhere, because he obviously wasn't on camera, I was like, what the hell? I was like, Dano has crashed the presser. Jason says it sucks because Jack was off to such a good start. Yeah, he looked like the guy we all wanted to see, the guy that the people pay to see play, right? People pay to see me play. That was Jack Hughes early on in the season, and then Chicago cut, and here we are. Jason said even the Chicago game, he was filthy, and then he has to chop his pinky off. SJ says McKenna is Jack level. I don't think he will be Celebrini. Chris, what's going on? Rangers went to 2 Eastern Conference Finals just recently, and they should blow it up. It's not good enough. Devils should follow suit and get rid of aging players. We have plenty of them. But a lot of the fan base, which I'll call the uneducated portion of the fan base, which seems to be maybe the majority these days, are so in love with the team that has underperformed every year and like thinks that everyone's an untouchable. There are no untouchables. Robert, remember the 90s ace? Boy, every year we knew 45-plus wins. Yeah, it wasn't a question of if we're going to make the playoffs. It was, are we going to win the cup? We knew we were going to the playoffs. How far are they going to go? Chris, I say should because I worry Drury won't do a full rebuild. It's interesting. Do you want him to strip it all down, Chris, and do a full-blown rebuild? Jason says, give me some Finns too. Snow Devil, you think we're doing bad now? Without Jack, Bratt, and Nico, it would be worse in the comments. Yeah, obviously, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a world in which one of the core pieces are traded for a different type of player. You're not just talking about losing these guys with getting nothing in return. Obviously, without them, we'd be way worse. That's a given. Suk says Drury at least has shown he knows how to shed bad contracts. Yeah, I mean, listen, he got rid of Trouba when no one thought it was possible. Fitzgerald is inept. Completely agree. Completely agree. Jason Saliva will also be here next year. Big physical D-men. The difference, though, I think, Chris, between the Devils and Rangers, I don't know enough about the Rangers. I don't follow them like that. But so absolutely it's not working. When I talk about the Rangers, I sound just like you. Same predicament. There's no other way. But we do have some younger pieces in place that should have value either to the Devils or another team that we could trade them to and get some of the pieces we need. It's not like all we have are, super old guys. Like all of our guys are 27 or younger, I think, except for Timo, in terms of the big name guys. Like there are pieces here to where I think a competent, keyword being competent GM could pull off a decent retooling, but we do not have that at the moment. We have Tom Fitzgerald. All right, guys, I'm going to start winding it down in a minute. Going to use the bathroom. I'm not running out of here. We're going to start the slow wind down when I get back. But appreciate everyone for coming out. I'm just going to use the bathroom. I'll be back. And if you got any closing comments, thoughts, obviously I like the suggestions. I haven't seen many of those in a minute. But, wow. Encouraging somewhat first game of the road trip. Devils start off 1-0. But use the bathroom. Back in 2 minutes. We'll start winding it down. Appreciate you all. Be right back. Be right back. And we're back. The late night edition. Cheers to all you guys. The late night crew. Oh, man. And tomorrow it's even going to be a later night. 1 a.m. start. Ooh. Those 10 p.m. games are killer. Brandon says, I think I've seen enough of this core to do a full rebuild. I'm not getting fooled again. I think a couple pieces gets us to the playoffs regularly, but we're just going to get smacked in the playoffs. That's where I'm going to let maybe a little bit of my delusional optimism kick in, because I do feel like despite them crashing hard this year, like let's just pretend we're in a playoff spot right now, right? And these are just two guys I'm using. They're not super realistic, but it's also not that unrealistic. Let's just pretend the team was in a firm playoff spot right now, and I'm just using these two guys as names because they were guys we were rumored to. But let's just say we got Kadri and Stammer. Like, adding those two guys to a playoff team and maybe like a feisty-ish bottom six guy that could produce, I do think that could change things up a little bit. But a guy like Kadri alone is not going to bring it enough of that. But if you got like a bottom six guy that was a little scrappy like him, and a guy that could put the puck in the net like Stammer, I would be fairly optimistic. And that's kind of where I was at a couple months ago. But wow. Snowdell says, will Salaya be here next year? I think that's the plan for the team. I don't think it's any guarantee. I think they're going to put him in Utica for a full season if I had to guess. So he will be here as in North America, but I don't think he's going to be a Devil. Suk says these March rival games are going to hit like expired milk. Shame, shame, shame on the NHL and the schedule makers for making the first Devils-Rangers game March 7th. I've never seen such lunacy in my life. Jason said at least the Rangers own the Canes and made and just ran into the Panthers. Robert says, yeah, it's only 2:30. Chris, yeah, you have a way better future in stud young center depth. We have neither a 1C or a 2C. Yeah, but here's the thing, right? If Drury starts getting rid of pieces and can free up cap space, like I could see him trying to go on a free agency heater. We have nobody that hits. Robert's 125 hardcore Devils fans up with you. Yeah. We're all just clinging on to that hope. Our D-men can't throw the body. Kovacevic can, and Dilly does a little bit still. After the season in the KHL, Brandon says we need a rebuild. I think it's a little early for that. And again, you're going to do a full-blown rebuild entering the prime years of Jack Hughes' career? Doesn't seem likely. Brandon, any team we go up against in the playoffs are just going to get smacked around and beat up. And I think a few guys could change that. And like I said, maybe that is delusionally optimistic. Suk, the unfortunate end to all this in a few years will not result in the Stanley Cup. We will inevitably rebuild again. Eventually, we'll be forced to, just the way it goes. Might try and retool here and there, but when it's said and done, we will still fail. It will happen. Robert, in some player's book, we hear the real story of Jack's finger, bunch of BS cut on glass. Either that or on a podcast, like in years from now, right? Chris says, for some reason, Calgary, I think, wants to keep Kadri as a veteran presence, but Stammer to NJ fits like a glove. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it now, given that this season's like pretty much gone. So then you're talking about, what, 2 more years of Stammer? I still think there's an incredible value for the Devils to have him, but I'm just starting to wonder, the feasibility of it all, mainly because of his contract. And if he does leave Nashville, I don't think they're going to want to retain, and I have zero interest in paying him $8 million. Suk says our expectations have officially shifted back to a very low bar. The fact we basically need to do it all over again is a shame. Brent says, Ace, if you could get Lou as a guest on here and ask him how to fix this team would be the best thing on the internet. Yeah, if only it were that easy, right? That would be the greatest thing on the internet, though. Kadri showing off tonight. Robert, Nashville winning, Stammer not going anywhere. I agree with you there. Jay Snow, I wanted Kadri until our season went off the rails. Same thing with me. Like, that was a piece I would have loved to have if we were remotely a contender. And the fact that this season seems to be lost, it does take a lot of, it takes a lot out of the possibility. But how many? I think he might have 3 more years on his deal after this. Yeah, he does. 3 more years at $7 million. Like, if they're not going to make a real push and bring in win now pieces, like truly try to win now, not like half-ass pretend you want to win now, I think it'd be a waste. Now, if they were going to kind of go all out and put the chips in and make a real push, then I would still want Kadri, even if it happened in the summer. But I think to Chris's point earlier, it seems like the Flames are happy to keep him, as that veteran guy. Even if they're not going to go anywhere, there's still a value for Kadri to be there. Yeah, misery certainly loves company. Anyone have anything else? Closing time. Man, we get to do this again tomorrow at 1 a.m. My God. The Western Canada trip. Is there any more? I'm glad the Kraken game's on the Sunday afternoon. At least there's only 3 late nights. And is that it for the rest of the year? I think it might be. Yeah, we have that Dallas and Nashville are 8 o'clock starts, which is not bad at all. Yeah, that's it. This is the end of the crazy games. The 9s are the 9 is kind of brutal. The 10s are brutal. Suk, it really is just the people in charge. I so desperately want them to clean house and bring in proven talent who know how to manage a team. I know we all want that, but the fix is not as far away as it seems. I agree with that too, but it starts with a competent GM. It certainly starts with a competent GM, and we do not have one of those at the moment. I do think if somehow they move on from Fitz, that a GM that knows they're doing can do a retool of some sorts, and they're going to make the hard decisions that Fitz never would be able to, and that would include trading away a core piece, in my opinion. But his move says, yeah, I got something. Let's go Devils. 1 a.m. Woo. Suk might take a few years. Robert, if we're in the same position come deadline, I still don't think Fitz will do anything. Seems to be his trademark. He's not doing anything. That's his MO. I told you guys this a while ago that don't expect any moves. or any meaningful moves. I always said, if anything, you would see a Sprong-esque type move. And he's certainly not going to make moves in a season where they're not in the playoff picture. That's been proven as well. What up, Ace? What's going on, Johnny? Thanks. Brandon, I also think Fitz is not holding the players accountable. Yeah, I mean, accountability has been a thing that's been brought up a lot too. Like, some guys are held accountable, some are not. The country club thing seems to be lingering. And there's going to be a lot of question marks surrounding this team heading into the offseason. That's just, it is what it is. Hopefully we see meaningful change, but I'm not too confident in that. Suk says one GM change and a few competent moves and we are living in happy land again. And I agree with that too. Doesn't take much to satisfy us in the short term. Fitz isn't capable of that. Yeah, that's kind of what I've told people for a while is like, listen, Fitz is a problem. But if somehow he's booted and we get someone that knows what they're doing, like the pieces are there. I would love to see them trade all their first round picks away. Like win now, because if you don't win in the pretty near future, I don't think there's a realistic chance of winning for years. It will be, during that Yegorov and/or Malik era, like with a completely different looking team than we see right now, which is a shame. Robert says we need an owner that cares. Completely agree with that. Suk says the owners will still spend to the cap, though. But in the end, like, that is spending to the cap is almost like the bare minimum these days, right? Like, if you're not a cap team, then you're completely if you're not a cap team, you're not serious about winning, and that's like undeniable. If you are not a cap team, you are not serious about winning. Now, there's many more layers, I would say, after that. But on the surface, like that's like the bare minimum if you want to be considered serious about winning. Chris says accountability is a double-edged sword. Players either respond or check out. Damned if a GM does, damned if he don't. The thing is, I think winners and guys that care about winning will never fault a coach or GM for accountability. And so if you have players that are just too, I don't know what you want to call it, egotistical or whatever, that cannot get behind that, then I would say those are the wrong types of players. And I don't want players like that. Johnny, thanks. Ace, you've been killing it with interviewing former Devils. Any upcoming surprise guests? Oh, I always got something in the chamber. Stay tuned. I'm always working on something. Brandon, every year that goes by, the chances of winning are getting slim. I completely agree. And I do think the window will be pretty well shut very soon if these changes aren't made soon. And then you're talking about being competitive again in a long time from now. Suk, they obviously will spend, but I just think they need to get a true hockey mind GM and let them cook. I agree with that. Randall, spending to the cap is fine when they spend it on is what matters. Well, then you're talking about just, mismanagement by the general manager. Chris says, yeah, prima donnas, the NHL is full of them. It's unfortunate, but I don't want players like that. Like, I get that's where the league has kind of went to, but there are still a ton of guys that do not subscribe to a lot of that BS. So hopefully they're able to find those kinds of players. Robert, I think we should all chip in our life savings and save this team. I'm in. It's going to take more than the life savings of the people in here. You're going to need some real billionaire heavy hitters. All right, guys. Anyone have anything else? Chris says, and as far as the cap, look at Vegas. They don't ever own a first-round pick. I've told these people this forever, Chris. That is truly what trying to win now looks like. And Breezeball did the same thing in Tampa. You trade away your first-round picks because in the end they're worthless. Who cares? Trade them away and get win now players, known commodities. That's what winning teams do. And they also spent LTIR money when that loophole was available, which has now been closed. The Devils decided in the last 2 seasons when they had the chance to do it, they decided not to. Pathetic. And that's an indictment on ownership, I believe. SJ, it's pretty simple for our favorite team. Either score goals or miss the playoffs. That's all they have to do. Convert your chances. Suk, there are not enough Devils fans in the world to make a dent on this team money-wise. Completely agree with you there. It would be phenomenal if they were able, if you were in some fantasy world, if we were able to crowdsource the $3 billion or so it would take to buy the team. But it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it is just not going to happen. It would take a real special sequence of events, I think, for this ownership group to ever sell this team. All right, that's it, folks. We're done. What time? Oh, my God, it's so late. It's so late. Brandon says, the owner had any belief we were a good team, I think they would have done that LTIR money spending. Maybe, but they didn't spend it. And the opportunity was there. And I believe like it was something like 6 of the previous 8 cup winners or something along those lines were all teams that were well over the cap during the playoffs because they exploited the loophole. Suk says hostile takeover from fans would be electric. It really would. It'll never happen. Archer, can't wait to see Allen and net tomorrow. Yeah, we haven't seen Jake the Snake in quite a minute. Hopefully he has a dominant performance and this team is able to win that elusive back-to-back and keep it going and go 2-0 on the road trip. It'd certainly be interesting. Got to just keep winning. All right, but that's it, kids. Appreciate you all for coming out. Cheers to all of you. The boys win a big overtime thriller. Nemo, the hero, once again. Devils win 2-1. Lenni Hameenaho looked pretty damn good in his NHL debut. I'm hoping we see nothing but constant playing time for him down the stretch of the season. I don't see any reason not to. Hopefully we never see Nemo scratched again. Hopefully Luke is not too injured. But for the meantime, he's bailed the team out from having to decide who to scratch. But that's it, guys. Back tomorrow. Yeah, I guess it's, yeah, well, now today's today. Yeah, so it's technically still tomorrow. The game will start tonight, but the live will start tomorrow. Taking on Connor McDavid and co. Looking to keep the good vibes going, but this one was good. Big Devils win. Nemo, the overtime hero. Bratter with that beautiful kick to Jack to Nemo, and that's how you end a game in overtime. Gutsy road victory for the boys. Not the prettiest, but I certainly will take it. 2 big points. They prevent any further slippage in the standings, and that's it, guys. That's it. Hit the thumbs up on your way out if you haven't already. Keep your eyes peeled. I got some things in the chamber here, and that's it. That's it. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go.